Chapter 1425. Perhaps that day will come. The young man's eyes were filled with madness and a bad feeling filled his body. His body turned cold as he rushed down the mountain. Going up the mountain was hard, and going down was even harder. As he rushed, he immediately fell, leaving many bruises on his body and making him bleed. However, the young man ignored everything and continued to rush down. It must be just a fire. It must be just a fire. Nothing happened, nothing happened. The young man's body trembled as he rushed down like crazy. The medicine basket on his back trembled and some herbs even fell out, but the young man ignored it all as he rushed down. Along the way he fell several times, and one time a branch opened a large wound in his right leg. However, he ignored it, and anxiety filled his eyes. After a long time, the young man reached the base of the mountain while gasping for air. He rushed down the path to the village. His heart was trembling and fear filled his body. Nothing is going to happen, nothing is going to happen. The young man's heart seemed to scream, almost begging. Everything before him was a blur aside from the road below his feet. He used all his strength to arrive at the main road outside the village. He only needed to travel half a kilometer more to see the village. However, although he couldn't see the village, he could see the monstrous fire. He could also vaguely hear mournful cries. The mournful cries were heaven shaking, enough to cause the earth to tremble. "Little sister!" The young man quickly ran forward. Just at this moment, the trembling from the road became even more violent, and more than 10 horses rushed over. Some of the vicious men riding them had messy clothes, and their evil laughter could be heard. "Ha! I didn't expect this little village to have so many beautiful women. If not for having to complete the Lord's task, I would really wanted to take a few." Yes, especially that bride, she was very good. These more than 10 horses quickly passed by the young man. One, if the burly man immediately raised his whip and lashed the young man to side of the road. "Little bastard, you dare to block our horse gang's path? Scram to the side!" The young man's body trembled and he let out a miserable scream. A powerful force slammed into his body and he was knocked out. The more than 10 horses passed, their laughter echoing. Time passed and night fell. The cold wind blew by. The young man on the side of the road trembled as he slowly opened his eyes. Confusion filled his eyes, and his face was ashen. He struggled to stand up. He muttered to himself and staggered as he ran toward the village. Nothing will happen to little sister, nothing. After a long time, the already burnt village appeared before the young man under the moonlight. The young man trembled as he stared at the village before him in fear. He let out a miserable cry as he ran forward. Little sister, little Lan." As he ran, the young man entered the village. The pungent smell of smoke still remained. The thick smell of blood still lingered in the air. On the ground, aside from dark blood, there were corpses with open eyes that looked up at the dark sky. This sight aroused an intense pain that drilled into his heart and almost made him collapse. These corpses were all people he was extremely familiar with. A majority of the surrounding houses had been burnt. Only the bright sedan was not burnt. Compared to the burnt houses, its bright color was too shocking. The young man bit his lower lip. His body trembled and he was filled with indescribable panic as he walked into the burnt house next to the sedan. A body had fallen there. It was Tiger. Beside Tiger was the body of a woman. It was Tiger's sister. Hong. The young man almost collapsed as he trembled while walking deeper into the room. He saw his little sister. The burnt room still had a few beams standing, and a piece of white silk tied around the neck of a miserable female corpse was hanging from the beams. The female corpse was a mess, and blood was coming out of her orifices. Her eyes were filled with confusion as she looked into the distance, waiting for her loved one. The young man looked at the female corpse and coughed out a mouthful of blood. "Little sister!" His mournful voice echoed through the night of this desolate and death-filled village. It lingered for a long time. "Don't cry, little Lan. Be good. Big brother won't sleep anymore. I'll get that purple orchid for you, okay, so don't cry anymore. Little Lan, this is the 100th time you've asked me where mom and dad went. Didn't big brother tell you they went somewhere far away? They will catch up. Watch Lan grow up. And watch Lan get married. Don't cry. Since you don't like Tiger, then forget it. Big brother isn't after Tiger's big sister like you say. Big brother's dream is going to become an immortal. Little Lan, wait for your big brother. When I am successful, I'll come back and help you and Tiger live forever. When you get married, big brother will prepare a lot of dowry for you, so you will get married in style. The young man shed tears of blood as he fell. He looked at his little sister with his hollow eyes. Several days later, the young man buried all the corpse in the village and buried his sister alone up in the mountain. It was very high up and there were a lot of purple orchids flowering there. If one sat in the flower field, they would see the whole world. His little sister hadn't died from abuse. She had hung herself. The young man kept the piece of white silk she had hung herself with. For a moment, he felt that his little sister's soul was inside this white silk. When he left the village, he looked back and took out the white silk. A voice as pretty as a bell echoed in his ears. Big brother, wake up, look over there. There is a bunch of purple orchids. Big brother, where did father and mother go? Lan misses them. Big brother. The young man bit his lower lip until it bled, and a few drops of blood fell down onto the white silk. After it spread out, it turned into a plum flower-shaped horse gang. There was monstrous hatred inside the young man's eyes as he walked further and further into the distance. Big brother, I'll wait for you to come back. Time passed, and in a flash decades went by. The talent of the young man was beyond his own imagination. Although it wasn't the best, it was still shocking. He had entered the heaven-breaking sect, and with the determination an ordinary person wouldn't have, he became the leader among the junior generation. In the horse gang's base, a total of 1,400 members were killed in one rainy night. No one was spared, even the horses were slaughtered. About 7 or 8 of the old members suffered the most before their deaths. The pain they suffered wasn't inflicted through ordinary means, and they howled for almost half a month before they finally died. Their souls had been extracted, and they had suffered from being refined. Unable to enter the reincarnation cycle, however, Sima Mo still felt pain similar to needles stabbing through his heart. The culprits that had assaulted his little sister had died many years ago. From using Soul Search, he had found that the culprit hadn't experienced much suffering, and he was unwilling to let this go. After returning to the sect, another 100 years passed. Sima Mo had reached the nascent soul stage, and had become the strongest among the younger generation. He caught the eye of the heaven-breaking sect's sect master, and was accepted as the sect master's disciple. In the winter, Sima Mo descended from the sect once more. He used a spell to calculate the reincarnation of the culprit and began a slaughter. What kind of hatred could cause someone to hunt down the culprit even after the culprit had already died and gone through the reincarnation cycle? Time passed. Wang Lin saw all of this inside Master Simo's memory. He silently pondered. He also saw tens of thousands of years later, when Master Simo watched his fellow sect members die in the 7-colored realm. His body was hit by the 7-colored nail, and he was taken away by the sovereign one, Sima Mo. Although kicked from the heaven-breaking sect, am a member of the inner realm. How could I become the dog of the outer realm? How could I give up everything just to survive and give in to the temptation of reaching the 3rd step? If I die, I die. An ancient voice came from the world and entered Sima Mo's mind. Not only can this old man prevent you from dying, I can even reform your sister. I can bring her back to life. But I can allow her to stay by your side for an eternity. If your cultivation is successful, perhaps you will meet someone who can resurrect her. If you die now, everything will be gone. Sima Mo's mind trembled. Come with this old man from now on. You no longer the inner realm as Sima Mo, but this old man the sovereign's subordinate. I give you the name Master Simo. Inside the Emperor Furnace, Master Simo's eyes were a blur as tears fell. The nail-sized fire between his eyebrows gradually spread and occupied his forehead. Outside the Emperor Furnace, Wang Lin was sitting on top of the furnace. He opened his eyes under the gazes of the surrounding cultivators. His eyes were filled with confusion. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a sigh and stood up. He stepped forward and waved his hand. The Emperor Furnace trembled and dissipated. Master Simo's figure was revealed. Wang Lin didn't deliberately leave anything in Master Simo's memory, but he left some thoughts he had given up on refining Master Simo. This refining perhaps wouldn't succeed as Master Simo still had many treasures. This battle would have no purpose if it continued. Master Simo stood in the air and pondered for a long time. He waved his right hand and the woman disappeared into his sleeve. With Master Simo's cultivation level, he vaguely realized what had just happened. He looked at Wang Lin with an extremely complicated gaze. Please tell me, was her word from before from your spell, or? I also don't to know. Wang Lin let out a sigh. If I was Sima Mo and his sister was Wan Air, how would I choose? Wang Lin was afraid to think of the answer. Maybe it would be the same answer he had given Sima Mo, or he already had the answer. Leo truly didn't realize today was May 20th. Leo's already married, not caring about this day at all. Truly no intention. Truly no intention. I'm already married. Yes, just like that. CHIRP, CHIRP, CHIRP. Chapter 1426. Will leave. Master Simo left Grandmaster Yun Luo went with him, and the two of them disappeared from the great Emperor planet before Wang Lin's eyes. There was no result in this battle. It was outside the expectations of all the cultivators here, including the old vermilion bird. However, with his powerful cultivation, he had vaguely noticed some things. Although this was the case, it wouldn't hinder the rise of Wang Lin's prestige in the fallen land. In the eyes of the cultivators here, just the battle was already enough for them to see Wang Lin as someone who could face a third-step cultivator. The fallen elder selection that had been interrupted continued, but none of this was related to Wang Lin anymore. In the fallen land, the abandoned planet Lu Jinbiao and Shuliguo were on had been carefully searched by the people of the Fire Sparrow clan. For the Fire Sparrow clan, the trial being held on the Great Emperor planet was a wonderful opportunity for them. As they carefully searched, the Fire Sparrow clan found Lu Jinbiao, who was in closed-door cultivation in the deepest part of the planet, and his guardian Shu Liguo. After a vicious battle, Lu Jinbiao was captured and secretly sent out from the fallen land to meet with the Fire Sparrow clan's ancestor, who was waiting outside. Lu Jinbiao's expression was gloomy, and he didn't speak at all. However, he gave off the aura of the master of a generation. An invisible aura from someone who had held power for a long time and could kill thousands of people with just one word. When Lu Jinbiao was brought out from the fallen land, the ancestor of the Fire Sparrow clan, who had carefully stayed outside and didn't dare to enter, revealed a look of ecstasy. He took a step forward, ignoring the worship of the Fire Sparrow clan, and his right palm turned into fire that directly slammed down on Lu Jinbiao. Lu Jinbiao's expression didn't become panicked. His eyes contained an ancient gaze as he coldly stared at the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. His calm gaze caused the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's mind to tremble. This aura and pressure only belonged to someone who has held power for a long time. If this person really is the vermilion bird, he should be like this. With a cold snort, the ancestor's right hand landed on Lu Jinbiao's body. Fire rushed into his body, and after the fire swept through, he frowned. Lu Jinbiao sneered and said, "Little Fire Sparrow clan, you sneak attack me when this old man is seriously injured. Just like your ancestor. Mere clowns." The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's eyes lit up, and some of this doubt dissipated. When he checked Lu Jinbiao's body, he found that there wasn't much fire inside. When he heard Lu Jinbiao's words, although some of his doubt had faded, it wasn't enough. He waved his right hand, and a wound appeared on Lu Jinbiao's right hand, and a large amount of blood flowed out. This blood was taken by the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor, and he formed it into a ball. After smelling it, joy appeared in his eyes, and after hesitating a bit, he devoured it. When the blood entered his stomach, it turned into a powerful fire force that erupted inside his body. An illusion immediately appeared behind the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. A firebird filled with fire opened its wings, and before it was a smaller vermilion bird. This vermilion bird seemed seriously injured and was blurry. After fighting with the firebird for a while, the firebird devoured the vermilion bird. After devouring the vermilion bird, the fire around the firebird erupted, and it began to change. It became more and more the vermilion bird. Good. It indeed is a vermilion bird. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor was filled with ecstasy. He laughed as his right hand landed on Lu Jinbiao's head. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor's cultivation level was extremely high, so he was naturally cautious and paranoid. After testing several times, although he was sure, he still used the Soul Search spell. In his view, everything in this world could be false, only Soul Search was true. Fire rushed toward his right hand, which was on top of Lu Jinbiao's head, and he began soul searching. Memories flashed across his mind, and a moment later, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor revealed a satisfied smile. Although there were still some doubts, this person was definitely the 6th-generation vermilion bird. He waved his sleeve and took Lu Jinbiao away. In a flash, they disappeared without a trace as he used a powerful spell to bring Lu Jinbiao back to the Fire Sparrow clan headquarters. The moment the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor took Lu Jinbiao away, Wang Lin, who was sitting next to the lake the old vermilion bird was fishing the dragon in, suddenly opened his eyes. And his eyes shined brightly. Liu Jinbiao's style of deception is really brilliant. Even the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor has been cheated. Now I need to prepare and wait for Liu Jinbiao to be brought into the Fire Sparrow clan. Holy land! Wang Lin's eyes shined as his hands formed seals and restrictions surrounded his body. More and more restrictions appeared, until they formed a formation around him. This formation had the ability to teleport Wang Lin away using a special method. At dusk, Wang Lin opened his eyes and calmly said, Ancestor Junior has a servant in the fallen land named Zhong Big Red. I hope can take care of him on my behalf. The old vermilion bird was sitting beside the lake with a fishing rod in his hand and a jug of wine placed beside him. After hearing Wang Lin's words, he looked back with kindness in his eyes. Are you ready? Wang Lin nodded. There are still a few more treasures to refine, then I just need to wait for the other side to activate the formation. The old vermilion bird put down the fishing rod and took a drink from the jug. Then he said, I have already passed the method of controlling the fire dragon to you. It will be extremely dangerous once you leave. I don't know when we will meet again. If you have any other requests, you can ask. Wang Lin silently pondered and looked at the old vermilion bird. Although Wang Lin had only known him for a few days, the old vermilion bird had selflessly helped him and protected him, which made Wang Lin feel warmth. Now that they were going to part, Wang Lin felt sadness. When the old vermilion bird saw Wang Lin pondering, the kindness in his eyes became even stronger, and he smiled. If there is a chance, the two of us will meet again. Don't be unwilling to leave, like a child. I hope that you can shock me again next time we meet. Wang Lin looked at the old vermilion bird before taking a deep breath and saying, Ancestor Junior wants the cultivation method of the ancient soul restriction from the arena. You want that ancient soul restriction? The old vermilion bird pondered a bit and slowly said, the ancient soul restriction is something the first generation ancestor stole. Even I don't have the cultivation method, forget it. I'll just give it to you to protect yourself. If you have the time, you can study it, and perhaps with your comprehension you can learn something. As the old vermilion bird spoke, his right hand reached at the sky. The earth far away rumbled, and the sky changed colors. Clouds scattered, and a ghostly light flashed. A giant tortoise beast appeared in the sky. The tortoise had an indifferent gaze as it lowered its head to look down at the old vermilion bird. The old vermilion bird formed a seal and pointed at it. The giant tortoise lit up and began to shrink. The smaller it got, the brighter it became. Soon, the giant tortoise turned into a palm-sized tortoise shell. The ghostly light was like moonlight, and it shrouded the sky. With a wave of his hand, the old vermilion bird sent the tortoise shell toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin took it and put it away after looking at it. He clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird and was about to speak when he was interrupted by the old vermilion bird. You don't need to thank me. How can an elder giving their junior something require the junior's thanks? If you really grateful, help this old man with something. The old man let out a dry cough as he spoke. Please speak, ancestor. As long as Junior can do it, I'll get it done. Wang Lin's voice wasn't too loud, but it was filled with determination. The old vermilion bird's face turned red as he put down the fishing rod and rubbed his hands together. Your vermilion bird has awakened 4 times, and you already qualified to give out the vermilion bird mark. This old man hopes that when you chose the 7th generation vermilion bird this. Wang Lin looked at the old vermilion bird, waiting for him to finish speaking. This you have to pick a good candidate. You can pick one without self-restraint, do you understand? The old vermilion bird winked. Wang Lin frowned and didn't understand too much. After pondering a bit, he nodded and said, Ancestor can rest assured. When Junior picks the 7th generation vermilion bird, I'll be very careful to not let the matter with the 3rd generation vermilion bird happen again. This old man doesn't mean this. The old vermilion bird rubbed his hands as he gnashed his teeth. This old man means that when you pick the 7th generation vermilion bird, you can pick a flirtatious individual. Alas, why don't you understand? Isn't your comprehension pretty high? Wang Lin was startled for a moment and nodded with a puzzled look. Okay, Junior will not choose someone too flirtatious as the 7th generation vermilion bird. After all, it is not good to be too greedy for beauty as a cultivator. The old vermilion bird's eyes widened and he shouted, It's not about being too greedy for beauty, he can covet for any beauties at all. Alas, where did all your comprehension go? Do you have to make this old man say it directly okay? You better choose the 7th generation vermilion bird from children to save the effort of his origin soul S yang being broken, which would make him unable to cultivate this old man S cultivation method. That S right, pick a child, and the next time you come, bring him here. Remember to make sure his origin soul S yang hasn't been broken. It's not me scolding you, but look at you. You so young, and not even at this old man S cultivation level. You have to know that over the countless years, not a bit of my origin soul S yang has dissipated. I really don't understand juniors like you. What's so good about duo cultivation? This old man has never duo cultivated with anyone, yet I am energetic every day, not to mention how happy I am. Wang Lin was startled for a moment as he stared at the old vermilion bird. He was left speechless and could only nod with a wry smile. The old vermilion bird let out a big sigh in his heart. He had put all his hopes on Wang Lin. After seeing Wang Lin nod, the old vermilion bird coughed and said, "This old man S spell can only display its full power when used by someone who kept their origin soul S yang. It's just not that I have some sort of special hobby. This old man 1T make you help you for nothing, I'll teach you a spell. This is one of the 3 strongest spells of my vermilion bird clan. It was passed down by the ancient celestial sovereign. Although your origin soul S yang is broken, you can still cultivate it. This spell is too powerful and will burn your lifespan, so don't use it carelessly, but it should be able to save your life." Leo continues to read, "Today is Monday, wishing for just a few more likes and followers for the VIDEO channel." Chapter 1427, Engraved Ambition. Remember, unless it is absolutely needed, don't use this spell. The old vermilion bird looked extremely serious. After he finished speaking, he took a deep breath and formed a strange seal with his hands. As the seal appeared, ethereal fire came from the old vermilion bird's eyebrows and entered the seal. This caused the seal to flash red, and they fused together to form a fire bone about 10 feet long. It might not be appropriate to call it a bone. It was like a stick, but it was very smooth. The moment this fire bone appeared, the old vermilion bird's eyes became serious. His hands formed more seals and thin lines began to appear. They didn't surround the fire bone but extended out from its tip. The object that was formed by the old vermilion bird's spell looked rather strange. If you spread some oil paper between the lines, it would look extremely similar to the umbrellas used by mortals on rainy days. Wang Lin stared intently. He had seen the old vermilion bird create 2 different sets of seals. The first set was 999 seals in an instant. The second group was even more. He had created exactly 9,999 in a flash. Not a sliver of origin energy fluctuation was released, and the clouds hadn't scattered. The surroundings were extremely quiet. It was as if nothing had changed. After finishing the 2 sets of seals, the old vermilion bird became even more serious. He took a deep breath and his eyes revealed a strange light. Both his hands worked together to form seals, then a light began to spread out in all directions, penetrating the lake. The old vermilion bird's hands moved faster, and without a pause, seals appeared one by one. 1, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, so fast that they became a blur to the eye. The old vermilion bird's hands were so fast it was impossible to see them with the naked eye, and if one used divine sense, it would be stopped by a mysterious force. The old vermilion bird let out a roar. The number of seals in his hands had already reached over 1 million. The 1 million seals appeared at the same time and formed a storm. This storm charged at the firebone. In a flash, the storm fused with the firebone and shot into the sky. Wang Lin took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. His pupils immediately shrank. The storm seemed to have formed a large umbrella that hadn't opened. Large amounts of fire formed countless fire dragons around it. The entire sky was occupied by fire dragons. They surrounded the umbrella and roared. This could be clearly seen from every part of the great Emperor planet. Burning realm ancient umbrella. The old vermilion bird let out a roar and the storm suddenly stopped rotating. It floated motionlessly in the air. An unspeakable pressure slowly descended from the sky. The vegetation bent and large amounts of water mist appeared. The fishes in the lake swam quickly and bubbles appeared on the furnace of the lake. Fine cracks appeared on the ground. All the cultivators that saw this felt like the blood in their bodies was about to dry up. The sky was covered in endless distortion, as if it couldn't withstand the storm. The distortion continued to spread until it covered almost half of the fallen land. All the planets that were shrouded in this showed signs that a great drought was coming. There were signs of the destruction that was to come. The old vermilion bird's breathing became a bit rough. It was obvious that it was a lot of stress on him to use this spell. The first group has 999 seals, the second group has 9,999 seals, and the third and fourth groups both have 990,000. You must form all these seals within 9 breaths of time. Each of the seals must contain your origin soul's yang energy. Then, with a special chant, you can form the strongest spell of my Vermilion Bird Clan, Burning Realm Ancient Umbrella. If one mistake is made during any of the seals, the consequences will be unimaginable. Even with my mid-stage arcane void cultivation, I would still be seriously injured. If a non-fire cultivator made a mistake, they would likely die. This spell came from the ancient celestial sovereign. This old man once heard from the ancestor that in the ancestor's hometown. The ancient celestial sovereign used this spell and destroyed an entire realm of 10 billion people. This is why it is called the Burning Realm. This was an extremely powerful spell in the hands of the ancient celestial sovereign. This old man doesn't know if this spell is a Tao spell, but the ancestor said that the umbrella could be opened 9 times, and a world would be destroyed each time. Back then, the ancient celestial sovereign opened the umbrella 8 times to destroy a realm. Not even he dared to open the umbrella a 9th time. The ancestor is at the early stage void tribulent and can only open it 5 times. As for this old man, due to my origin soul's yang remaining intact after tens of thousands of years, I can use my own yang to open it twice at the mid-stage of arcane void. I shouldn't be passing this spell to you, because it is too dangerous, and one mistake would lead to disaster. The ancestor also said that the spell is incomplete as the ancient celestial emperor secretly learned this from someone else, but since your comprehension is so high, you can decide for yourself. The old vermilion bird's words echoed as Wang Lin stared at the umbrella in the sky. His mind was shaken by the old vermilion bird's words. He originally thought the old vermilion bird would pass him a Tao spell. He could never have expected to learn a spell that contained unimaginable power. Opening the umbrella 8 times can destroy a world with 10 billion people. Can this still be considered a spell? The old vermilion bird's breathing became even more rapid. He waved his hand and the storm that stopped trembled and began to dissipate. I can only let you see this and can open it. If it were to open, it would cause great damage here. The old vermilion bird bit the top of his tongue and spat out blood, containing his mid-stage arcane void cultivation toward the storm. The blood turned into a monstrous mist that fused with the storm and gradually made it disappear. It wasn't until 7 minutes later that the storm disappeared. The great emperor planet gradually returned to normal and the distortion also slowly recovered. Although this didn't last long, it had made Wang Lin's scalp go numb and his eyes lit up. Although the spell hadn't been activated, Wang Lin had gotten a general feel for it. Wang Lin's heart was pounding. The old vermilion bird only relaxed when the world returned to normal. He waved his hand and a jade flew out from the void toward Wang Lin. This jade contains all the seals and the method to open the umbrella. Quickly memorize it, and once there are no mistakes, destroy the jade. After the old vermilion bird finished speaking, he sat down, closed his eyes, and began to cultivate. Wang Lin accepted the jade and stared at it. The scene of the old vermilion bird displaying the spell appeared in his mind. Wang Lin was tempted. In his lifetime, he was rarely tempted by spells or treasures. He had cultivated restrictions all his life and was a grandmaster at them. For ordinary people, forming nearly 2 million seals was a very difficult task. This was indeed the truth, and 9 breaths was too short. However, when Wang Lin was at the core formation stage, he was already used to forming seals very fast. Some restrictions could only be placed or broken in an instant, so large amounts of seals needed to be formed during a short period of time. The first threshold that most people faced was not that difficult for Wang Lin. What really shocked Wang Lin was what the old vermilion bird had revealed about the Burning Realm ancient umbrella from the ancient celestial sovereign. So it is from the ancient celestial emperor who secretly learned it. It is not complete. Wang Lin took a deep breath. and there was a flash of terror in his eyes. If this sentence was true, then the meaning of it was simply too shocking. This spell, who the hell created it? Where did the ancient celestial emperor secretly learn this if just the stolen, incomplete spell is enough to destroy a realm? What if it was complete? Wang Lin raised his head and silently looked up at the sky. He faintly felt as if he was a mortal looking at the sky, and he felt very small. What does my current cultivation level count as? Just how big is this world? What is outside this world? After a moment, Wang Lin took a deep breath and determination filled his eyes. The more he knew, the smaller he felt, but Wang Lin didn't give up. Instead, it ignited the defying will in his heart. I can as well. I, Wang Lin, can as well. Why can Wang Lin do it as well? In the world, some people chose to be mortal, some became celestials, some were below others. All things were different. There were great injustices in this world, but at the same time, it was extremely fair. Since someone can create this kind of spell and cultivate to such an unimaginable degree, then I, Wang Lin, can do the same. Although my talent is lacking, it won't be able to become the stone that trips me. Today I learned the Burning Realm spell, which was created by someone else and was later stolen by the ancient celestial emperor. In the future, I want others to learn my spells. Wang Lin's expression was filled with determination. He didn't roar or cry, only his silent words echoed in his heart. Perhaps this was his ambition. Wang Lin closed his hands and his mind entered the jade. He engraved the countless seals in his mind, as well as the method for opening the umbrella. The jade turned into ashes in his hand and was blown away by the wind. The ashes that flew away represented Wang Lin's ambition as it flew higher and higher. Leo has a nasal inflammation and a cold again. My nose is just like a running faucet. Frustrated. Chapter 1428. Crazy idea. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor was a third-step cultivator. Even though he was only at the early stage of Nirvana Void, he could make the heavens shake with a wave of his hand. He used spatial bending as he moved back to the Fire Sparrow clan headquarters rapidly with Liu Jinbiao. The ancestor stepped outside the main Fire Sparrow planet. His eyes were filled with ecstasy, and in a flash he flew toward the center of the planet that was surrounded by fire. He was too fast and instantly arrived at the place where he normally stayed in closed-door cultivation all the time. The temperature of the fire here was extremely terrifying. Just one spark was enough to kill a cultivator. However, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor was perfectly fine and quickly approached while holding Liu Jinbiao. Liu Jinbiao's expression was as gloomy as water as he coldly looked at the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. He had completely forgotten his past and had deceived himself into believing that he was the sixth-generation vermilion bird. After holding power for so long, he had been captured by the Fire Sparrow clan. However, as the sixth-generation vermilion bird, he had his own pride. Even at the moment of life and death, he wouldn't beg for mercy. There was an illusory door deep within the sea of fire here. Ordinary people couldn't even take half a step inside. In addition, with the ancestor guarding it, this place was extremely well guarded. Although he had left, the door within the sea of fire had an extremely powerful restriction placed on it. This restriction wasn't placed down by him, but by his master. Even third-step cultivators would find it difficult to break inside in a short period of time. After arriving at the door, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor became excited and knelt down on the ground. This caused Liu Jinbiao's eyes to narrow. A third-step cultivator, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor, was kneeling before the door. Master, this old slave has captured the sixth-generation vermilion bird as a gift to Master to help Master's injury recover. Master? Liu Jinbiao's scalp went numb and his eyes were filled with shock. As he stared at the blurry gate, a monstrous wave was set off in his heart. Master of a third-step cultivator, this. The door was silent, and the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor remained kneeling. He waited for a long time and wasn't impatient at all. He remained respectful. The longer he stayed like this, the more shocked Liu Jinbiao became, and he showed signs of awakening from his Tao of deception. He was about to be scared awake. Sixth-generation vermilion bird. After a while, a blurry voice came out of the door. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor trembled and became even respectful. His eyes became excited and he quickly said, "This old slave has investigated thoroughly. I devoured his blood and searched his soul so I can be wrong. He is the 6th generation vermilion bird. This old slave captured him in the fallen land. The voice seemed to silently ponder, and an invisible aura gradually spread out. This made Lu Jinbiao's body tremble, and the pride in his eyes dissipated, and was replaced with endless fear. He was completely awakened due to fear. I've finally done it. I've finally gone too far. Lu Jinbiao felt his mouth go dry and his eyes filled with panic. He screamed madly in his heart, to have third-step cultivator as a slave, who the hell is this? That Wang Lin arranged for me to come here and said that he could save me, but even if he comes, I fear he would die. After a long moment of silence, that blurry voice came from the door once more. Send him in. Lu Jinbiao's body trembled and he was about to open his mouth to explain. However, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor directly grabbed him and dragged him toward the door. All of this happened too fast. Before he could explain, he felt his body tremble and get dragged into the door by the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. The restrictions on the door seemed to be suppressed and didn't activate, allowing the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor to enter. After entering the door, what appeared before Lu Jinbiao was something he could never forget. This was a world without a sky or earth. The only thing that existed was a massive flame. The flame occupied 70% of this world, and it rumbled loudly. There were no stars around them, but lines as thick as one S-arm branched across space. At a glance, they seemed to form a spiderweb. The fire was at the heart of the spiderweb. The spiderweb seemed to be tunnels, and things seemed to be moving within them toward the flame. The fire was 7-colored, without black and white. The 7-colored fire burned brightly, and a vague figure could be seen sitting inside. The figure was covered in armor, and there was a 7-colored vermilion bird flashing behind him. You can leave the blurry voice echoed in the sky as a ball of 7-colored fire the size of a fist flew toward the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. The fire went in between the eyebrows of the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor trembled and ecstasy filled his eyes. Go cultivate and absorb this. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor respectfully bowed and disappeared from this world. At this moment, only Lu Jinbiao and the figure inside the fire remained. Lu Jinbiao's body trembled. He could feel a suffocating pressure coming from the 7-colored fire the other person was sitting in. This pressure was enough to kill him millions of times. You re not the 6th generation vermilion bird, the blurry voice echoed and weighed upon Lu Jinbiao's mind. This made his scalp tingle and he lost his wits. Lu Jinbiao knelt on the ground, his eyes flooding with intense fear. Without hesitation, he immediately begged, Lord Celestial, forgive me. Lord Celestial, forgive me. Junior Lu Jinbiao is merely a little cultivator and was forced by someone to come here. If I hadn't come, I would have died. I hope Lord Celestial will have mercy. This little one is willing to do his best to service Lord Celestial. The blurry voice interrupted Lu Jinbiao. However, there is something that interests me on your body. Some of the countless branches moved and wrapped around Lu Jinbiao. In a flash, some broke through his flesh and began to absorb, causing Lu Jinbiao to scream miserably. His body rapidly withered as large amounts of blood were being sucked out and turned into bumps that moved within the branches toward the flame. Aside from his blood, his vitality was also rapidly being absorbed. Facing this moment of crisis, Lu Jinbiao let out a scream and spat out a mouthful of essence. The moment this mouthful of essence came out, a monstrous sword energy suddenly appeared. Shu Liguo appeared as a big sword, but he didn't stab toward the flame but turned into a sword storm. Master, the passage has been opened. Shu Liguo was also scared out of his wits. After he appeared, he began to roar in his heart. It is all that fiend's fault. He thought this holy place had fire essence, but instead there is a living person here. A living person who can make a third-step cultivator his slave. Interesting, the illusory voice seemed to smile as it echoed. On the great Emperor planet, Wang Lin closed his eyes and saw inside the transfer array. His mind entered the wind and rain realm, looking for the Alsa's soul. He used with Alsa's soul and quickly divinated the future at this moment. His eyes suddenly opened, revealing a flash of killing intent. There was someone healing inside the holy land of the Fire Sparrow clan. Before he came to the fallen land, he wasn't too sure, but after talking to the 1st generation vermilion bird, he was sure there was someone inside. If he had given up the plan back then, it wouldn't have been impossible for Lin Jinbiao to come back even after he had been captured. But a crazy idea had appeared in Wang Lin's heart. The first-generation vermilion bird once said that the person healing in there was likely the traitorous third vermilion bird, and the first-generation ancestor hated that person a lot. If it wasn't for the fact that he was trapped in the fallen land, he would have slaughtered his way to the traitorous vermilion bird. Although he hadn't said it, he had told Wang Lin that he could assist in Wang Lin as plan and allow Wang Lin to enter the Fire Sparrow clan as Holy Land. He had also given Wang Lin a vermilion bird feather as a gift. All of this pointed to one problem. More importantly, the traitorous third vermilion bird had another identity in the ancient star system. In truth, Wang Lin had a guess, and he was 70% sure of it. No, it could even be said that he was 90% sure. 70% was enough for him to decide to do something heaven-shaking, much less 90%. Once he did this, he was going to leave the ancient star system and return to the inner realm. He was injured by the first-generation vermilion bird, and then was injured by that mysterious roar in the inner realm. In the end, he was forced to go into closed-door cultivation to heal for tens of thousands of years. However, he has secretly been controlling the scene. His daughter entered the inner realm to allure Lin, destroy the celestial realm used to generate Joss flames, and combine the forces of several people to destroy the body of the Lord of the Sealed Realm. He has done whatever it took to tempt people who caught his attention in the inner realm, like Sima Mo, Lin, and if I'm not wrong, even Xianxia's madness must have something to do with this person. He has even used the viciousness of planting Dao. All of this is his doing. Now that he is seriously injured, I must take this opportunity. Madness appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. What he planned to do was already crazy anyway. The formation light flashed rapidly and thunderous rumbles echoed. The formation rotated until it formed a vortex, and with a bang it disappeared from the great Emperor planet. Wang Lin's figure disappeared with it. The old vermilion bird sitting at the side of the lake opened his eyes. He silently looked at where Wang Lin disappeared for a long time, and softly said, "First-generation ancestor. You still feel that he isn't someone of my vermilion bird clan, even though he passed the trial, but disciple believes that he is. I have disobeyed your order and taught him the strongest vermilion bird clan. Skill without your permission, because that's what he should have received after the trial was over." These past few days, without wishing for likes on the video, the like button for the video has quickly fallen to 10th. Urgently wishing for you readers to flip through and see if there's a like button for the video left unpressed. Chapter 1429, Fishing the Moon in the Well. In the Fire Sparrow clan as Holy Land, Lu Jinbiao was entangled by countless threads, letting out mournful cries. Shu Liguo was scared out of his wits and constantly called Wang Lin. The figure inside the seven-colored flame didn't stop Shu Liguo and only said one word. Interesting. Just as he spoke, a thunderous rumble came from within the sword storm Shu Liguo had created. It was as if a mighty force had come from the void and locked onto Shu Liguo's location. The mighty force ripped that storm open. As the storm rumbled, it was as two giant hands had penetrated the void and started ripping open a metal plate. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the storm collapsed after being ripped in half. When the storm collapsed, a giant rift appeared in the space here. There were flashes of thunder and monstrous fire. Wang Lin's figure walked out from the rift. With a head of white hair and white clothes, Wang Lin's eyes contained a vicious gaze. After he appeared, he looked at the figure inside the seven-colored flame. Sovereign! The seven-colored flame burned brightly, and the figure inside seemed to open his eyes. Two ancient gazes landed on Wang Lin. "I remember that your name is Wang Lin," a blurry voice echoed in the world. "I am." Wang Lin didn't hide his identity, and his expression became even more vicious. He waved his right hand, and the thunder tattoo in 9-colored fire flew out toward Shu Liguo, taking him back into Wang Lin's storage space. As the thunder tattoo rumbled, it closed in on Lu Jinbiao along with the 9-colored fire. They formed a giant hand that pulled Lu Jinbiao away from those countless branches and placed him inside Wang Lin's storage space. The figure inside the 7-colored flame didn't stop Wang Lin. "Very good this Lord season you, Lin, Shui, and even Sima Mo. You knew I was here, and yet you dared to come. It must be the old vermilion bird that gave you the courage, or perhaps you thought that I have been seriously injured for so long, and your intention is to check if I still haven't recovered, and..." It is! There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes, and his expression became even more vicious. He took a step forward and charged at the seven-colored flame. The nine-colored fire in his left eye rushed out and formed a nine-colored ethereal fire that bombarded the seven-colored flame. Thunder flashed in this right eye, and the thunder tattoo appeared. The 9 accompanying thunders turned into 9 ancient thunder dragons. There was a faint crack on the thunder essence, and it led to the ancient thunder realm. His left hand formed a seal, and he pointed at the sky. In an instant, the fragrance of grass filled the world. The phantoms of countless trees appeared, and the ancient forest spirit sat up. It let out a roar and pounced at the seven-colored flame. A monstrous bloodlight howled, and with the point of Wang Lin's finger, it charged toward the seven-colored flame. As Wang Lin formed a seal, his entire cultivation erupted and formed a shockwave that closed in on the seven-colored flame. All of this happened in a flash. It was fast beyond imagination. In a flash, Wang Lin had used all his spells and treasures to launch an attack on the seven-colored flame. The figure inside the seven-colored flame laughed. His laughter was filled with desolation. Your judgment is right. This lord is seriously injured and hasn't healed. However, you have brought the heaven-defying bead here, giving me the hope of recovering. The figure raised his right hand, but his right arm was blurry. However, it was possible to see it, as the right arm was covered in armor. This lord has cultivated for a long time, and many people hate me, but none of them have killed me. Instead, they have been killed me. You excellent. But you not qualified. This lord will only use one spell. The figure inside the seven-colored flame raised his right hand and reached at the sky. This world can be viewed as a well. After he spoke, the entire world trembled and ripples appeared down below. Water vapor spread. In the blink of an eye, an unimaginable force spread out across this world and water appeared. If one looked from above, they would clearly see that this water was a well. Everything is inside the well. All your spells, treasures, and even your body exist in the well. The space that had become the water gradually calmed down, and the ripples disappeared. When the ripples disappeared, the surface of the water reflected everything above it. The water reflected Wang Lin's firestorm, his eternal thunder, the ancient forest spirit. It also reflected Wang Lin's dazzling figure in the middle. If someone else saw this, they would be extremely shocked. The water reflected everything beside the seven-colored flame. At a glance, it was impossible to tell which was the reflection and which was real. At this moment, Wang Lin's body suddenly stopped in the air. Not only did his body stop, but all his spells and treasures stopped in the air with him. It was as if all of their souls had been taken by the surface of the water. Wang Lin clearly felt that the figure inside the surface of the water was himself. This as a very mysterious feeling, but it was extremely realistic. This Lord's spell is called Fishing the Moon in the Well. There was no moon inside the well, and even if it were to appear, it would merely be a reflection. However, this simple reflection was turned into a heaven-shaking spell due to the words of the figure inside the seven-colored flame. Fishing the moon in the well. The figure inside the seven-colored flame lowered his right hand and causally reached out. The water below him rippled and Wang Lin's reflection inside the water was fished up. What was picked up wasn't tea water, but a struggling Wang Lin. Only this Wang Lin's eyes were ferocious. Wang Lin's mind focused. This old man thinks that the moon inside the well is very beautiful, so I wanted one. Now I have one. The figure inside the seven-colored flame withdrew his right hand with Wang Lin in his grip. He is you. The seven-colored flame burned brightly and suddenly spread out, revealing the figure inside, as well as his appearance. A pale-faced but extremely calm middle-aged man. This man was very handsome and had the air of a celestial. Instead of looking at Wang Lin, he calmly looked at the Wang Lin he had caught in the well. Watch. Killing you is actually very easy. The middle-aged man was wearing a suit of gray armor. This armor was very strange, as if it was growing from his body. It couldn't be distinguished from his body. Fishing the moon in the well, what it fished was the soul. It looks like you really seriously injured, Wang Lin said slowly, and at this moment, he no longer revealed that tyrannical expression he had before, but was calm. The eyes of the middle-aged man that had picked up Wang Lin from the water shined. Under his spell, all those that were reflected would lose their physical ability and would not be able to speak. However, Wang Lin's words had clearly entered his ears. Just after Wang Lin spoke, he took a step forward and waved his right hand. The feather of a vermilion bird appeared in his hand. With a wave of his hand, The feather gave off a monstrous fire and immediately shrouded the sky. At a glance, the sky became a sea of fire. Thunderous rumbles echoed like crazy, and the fire in the sky seemed to be raging as it burned violently. The middle-aged man viciously squeezed his hand, and the Wang Lin he was holding let out a miserable scream. The Wang Lin in his hand crumbled and died. Wang Lin trembled and his face turned pale, but he didn't stop. He raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. He began to roar the chant the first-generation vermilion bird had given him. I am the sixth-generation vermilion bird. I am using this vermilion bird feather to summon my vermilion bird clan's origin spirit to descend from the ancient realm. The world rumbled, and the moment Wang Lin's words echoed, the middle-aged man suddenly stood up. His eyes lit up, and an indifferent voice echoed. This old man has indeed underestimated you. You have prepared thoroughly before coming here. You've replaced your original body with a devil soul. Good, good. Wang Lin remained silent. Before coming here, he had fused with the All-Seer's soul and began divinating like crazy. Just like when he battled Taoist water, he saw a blurry scene. This scene was a life and death crisis, and it was related to the soul. Wang Lin had spent his entire life facing dangers and had lived through them all due to his caution. Since he was daring to scheme against the seriously injured sovereign, he naturally had to come fully prepared. He had even prepared a lot of paths of retreat. In order to make sure nothing went wrong, he had erased the consciousness of his ancient devil soul and had replaced his own soul with it, allowing it to become the soul of his original body. The fishing the moon in the well spell was extremely tyrannical, and its power was shocking. However, the soul it had fished out was the ancient devil soul, not Wang Lin's soul. Only Wang Lin, who was an ancient god, could replace his soul with the ancient devil soul. If it was anyone else, it wouldn't have been possible. Even if their cultivation level was higher, they would still collapse under this spell, and the replacement would be noticed. However, ancient devils and ancient gods came from the same origin, so they could perfectly replace each other. In addition, it was also partially due to the sovereign being seriously injured and underestimating Wang Lin's strength. Otherwise, Wang Lin wouldn't have succeeded. However, even if it failed, Wang Lin had backup plans prepared, or else he wouldn't have recklessly come here. Lately, Leo has been having headaches, always seeming to see light waves in the form of lines, affecting my vision, sometimes momentarily half-blinded, perhaps too exhausted. Chapter 1430, Umbrella opens to destroy the realm. Using this opportunity he had created for himself by causing the man inside the seven-colored flame to fail his spell, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to take out the treasure the first-generation vermilion bird had given him to kill the traitorous third vermilion bird. After Wang Lin summoned the vermilion bird, the fire in the sky began to churn violently. The sea of fire quickly surged, and a giant vortex appeared in the middle, which was above Wang Lin's head. The fire vortex became like a black hole that was a door to a mysterious world. The moment the black hole appeared, a vermilion bird cry suddenly echoed within. The vermilion bird cry was heaven-shaking. The moment it appeared, Wang Lin felt a sense of shock. His fourth awakened vermilion bird appeared and revealed respect. It was as if Wang Lin's vermilion bird felt instinctive fear toward this cry. The seven-colored vermilion bird behind the old man looked up and let out a cry. There was fear in its eyes, and it didn't dare to fly up. This scene was too sudden, and the middle-aged man's pupils shrank. The old fellow actually gave this to you to kill me. Following the heaven-shaking vermilion bird cry, a terrifying pressure came out of the vortex and quickly scattered. The temperature here suddenly increased until it became like a fire realm. Under this pressure, a terrifying scene that Wang Lin could never forget occurred in the sea of fire in the sky. A giant vermilion bird beak descended from the vortex. Just the beak covered most of the sky, and the pressure increased countless fold. Vermilion bird origin spirit. That feather was an important treasure to the first-generation vermilion bird, as he only had one. What the feather had summoned was a real vermilion bird that lived in the first-generation vermilion bird's homeland. This wasn't a vermilion bird formed by the vermilion bird clan cultivators, but a living one. The vermilion bird beak suddenly descended from the vortex and caused the sea of fire to concave inwards with the beak at the bottom. As it descended, the fire surged. Its speed was unimaginable. As it descended, it mercilessly pecked at the middle-aged man. During this process, the entire sky seemed to have turned into the head of the vermilion bird. Its eyes were filled with anger, and Wang Lin recognized it at a glance. It looked very similar to the first-generation vermilion bird. The world continued to rumble. The vermilion bird beak descended quickly and in an instant reached within 1,000 feet of the seven-colored flame. This was comparable to a finger from the ancient gods, but the momentum was much more powerful. Only an adult 8-star ancient god using the spell personally could match it. Inside the seven-colored flame, the middle-aged man let out a roar and he waved his hand. The seven-colored flame around him rushed into the sky and formed another vermilion bird that rushed at the incoming beak. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The seven-colored vermilion bird let out a miserable scream the moment it touched the beak, and it suddenly collapsed. The middle-aged man coughed out blood and his hand formed seals while his expression was ferocious. He roared, "Earth, water, fire, wind." His words shook the entire world. With the word earth, a boundless earth appeared below him. With the word water, a raging sea appeared above the earth. With the word fire, the sea began to burn and was covered in a seven-colored flame. With the last word wind, a gust of wind swept across the flame. 4 elements. The middle-aged man's expression was ferocious, and his hands pushed forward. The mighty wind rushed toward the vermilion bird beak, and behind it was the raging flame. After the flame was the surging sea. Finally, the earth went through the middle-aged man's body and charged at the sky as if it were going to mend the vortex. When all of this appeared before Wang Lin, it shook his mind. Whether it was the vermilion bird or the middle-aged man, they both had power that Taoist water and Master Simo couldn't compare to. If these two powers collided, the shockwave would be strong enough to destroy this holy land. Even Wang Lin wouldn't be able to survive, unless he could use a similarly powerful spell to confront the incoming wave of destruction that is. Or he could choose to use the backup plan he had come up with before, to leave the outer realm and return to the inner realm. However, right now was the best opportunity to seriously injure or kill the sovereign. If he missed this chance, he wouldn't have another opportunity. Wang Lin had spent his life seeking to gain advantages in dangerous situations, so how could he let this chance go? He wanted to do something heaven-shaking in the outer realm after destroying the Scatter Thunder clan. Kill the sovereign. What a vicious first-generation vermilion bird. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. The first-generation vermilion bird had lived for far too long, and Wang Lin naturally was no match. Although he had guessed the first-generation plan, he was still a step behind. The second-generation ancestor suddenly passed me the strongest vermilion bird clan spell because he saw through it all and was trying to help me. Wang Lin's hands began forming seals without hesitation. The first breath. The middle-aged man's wind collided with the beak. The world rumbled and the wind collapsed. The vermilion bird beak trembled, and the rumbling of its flames echoed loudly. A shockwave scattered in all directions. Wang Lin finished the first group of seals. The world before him changed colors and a giant firebone appeared out of nowhere. Second breath. The seven-colored flame collided with the vermilion bird beak and the world rumbled. The vermilion bird beak trembled and the seven-colored flame collapsed. The second shockwave swept across the world. Wang Lin finished the second set of seals. Branches appeared on the giant firebone. The third and fourth breaths instantly passed. The sea raged at the vermilion bird beak and collided with it, turning into endless water vapor. The tip of the beak broke, causing the vermilion bird to let out a cry and spit out a mouthful of air from its belly. This air rushed at the heaven-mending earth. Thunderous rumbles echoed violently like never before in this holy land and became the voice of the world. The sovereign let out a roar as the vermilion bird beak collapsed. The moment it collapsed, the third shockwave spread out in all directions. Countless rifts appeared in space and violent energy filled this world. The Fire Sparrow clan's holy land began collapsing under this shockwave. The air spat out by the vermilion bird landed on the earth, causing countless cracks to appear on it. Seeing that the earth was about to disintegrate, the sovereign spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood turned into blood mist and pushed the earth into the sky. After the earth absorbed the blood, it no longer disintegrated and charged at the sky with an indescribable momentum. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The large earth filled with countless cracks shot directly into the sea of fire in the sky. It covered the entire sea of fire and sealed the giant vortex that the vermilion bird origin spirit had arrived through. The world trembled and was torn apart as the shockwave spread, causing everything to disintegrate like crazy. The sovereign coughed out blood and his face became even more pale. He turned around and looked at Wang Lin with a ferocious expression before lifting his foot. Wang Lin was hit by this shockwave and blood came out of the corner of his mouth, but his hands moved faster and faster. He struggled to continue forming seals, and right now there were more than 1 million seals around him. The incoming sovereign saw this, and his expression changed greatly. Damn it, that old follow actually taught you this spell. He charged at Wang Lin without hesitation. However, the ancient forest spirit Wang Lin had released let out a roar and charged at the incoming sovereign. The sovereign had a ferocious expression as he waved his right hand, and an endless power turned into a giant handprint. It was like a sun that descended toward the ancient forest spirit. Thunderous rumble filled the air as the ancient wood spirit trembled. The palm penetrated its body and then shot at Wang Lin. At this moment, the 9th breath arrived and Wang Lin's right hand finished the last seal. His hands were a bloody mess and were almost unable to move after finishing the last seal. Almost 2 million seals were around Wang Lin's body. After he finished, they formed a firestorm and fused with the bone umbrella frame to form a giant realm-burning ancient umbrella. Realm-burning ancient umbrella. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot. He used the Vermilion Bird Clan's strongest spell the moment the palm print closed in. Although he had just learned it, he was the Vermilion Bird, and he had practiced restrictions for a long time, so he had methods for creating seals quickly. However, his comprehension of it was low, so its power was obviously inferior. However, when it came to this kind of spell, even if the power was weaker, it was still heaven-shaking. He then spat out a mouthful of blood. Wang Lin clearly felt the vitality in his body being rapidly absorbed by the ancient umbrella to form a force that would open it. Umbrella, open to destroy the realm. Wang Lin roared as he waved his arms. These past few days I've always been prodding myself to wish for likes on the VIDEO. But I always forget, now there are only the last 12 hours left to double the likes for the VIDEO. Tears in the hope of likes. Brothers, don't hold back. Chapter 1431. This day arrived. The firestorm stopped in the air and fused with a firebone umbrella frame, forming a burning umbrella. When the mouthful of blood from Wang Lin landed on the umbrella, large amounts of vitality rushed into the huge umbrella and a roar echoed. The collapsing Fire Sparrow Clan Holy Land was filled with an indescribable heat. Even the palm print paused when hit by this heat wave. The sovereign's expression changed greatly. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's roar rumbled across the world. In an instant, the ancient umbrella slowly opened, and as it opened, a fire that could destroy a realm spread out from the umbrella. This fire had no color and couldn't even be called a fire. It was an aura. An invisible fire aura. The umbrella gradually opened up. When it was 10% open, the palm print arrived. The fire rushed out and collided with the palm print. There was a thunderous rumble and the palm print immediately collapsed. The fire aura didn't stop. It slowly spread in all directions. Every place that was shrouded by it was destroyed and turned into ruin. This was the power that could destroy a realm. The destructive shockwave created by the collision of the Vermilion Bird Beak and the Sovereign collided with the power of the fire aura. Endless rumbles echoed as the shockwave collapsed and the fire extinguished. Realm-burning ancient umbrella. The Sovereign's face was pale. He was seriously injured and then he miscalculated with fishing the moon in the well. After that, he had fought with the Vermilion Bird origin spirit and sealed it before he saw Wang Lin use the terrifying realm-burning ancient umbrella. At this moment, he was even more injured than before. With a ferocious expression, the Sovereign formed a seal and reached for the cloth around his shoulder. With a roar, he pulled it down. Intense pain washed over his body. He ripped off the armor that had already fused with his flesh. The armor gave off a gray glow and suddenly turned into a huge palm. How can the realm-burning ancient umbrella be so easy to open? This armor was given to me by my master, and it is more than enough to match an unopened umbrella. Universe-suppressing palm! The Sovereign roared, and the giant palm formed by the armor shot toward Wang Lin. It was extremely fast, and it almost covered the sky, almost matching the Vermilion Bird Beak's size. As it swept across the sky, it was about to collide with the ancient umbrella. Thunderous rumbles echoed like crazy as the fire penetrated the palm. The palm was rapidly dissipating while it bombarded the umbrella. All of this happened in a flash. As the palm rapidly dissipated, it closed in on the umbrella. After shrinking to half its original side, it landed on the ancient umbrella. Realm-burning ancient umbrella, break for this sovereign! The ancient umbrella trembled and Wang Lin coughed out blood. The vitality in his body was a mess. After all, his cultivation level wasn't high enough to display its true power. Just opening it 20% to block a palm from the sovereign was his limit. After coughing out blood, Wang Lin was knocked back. Without vitality being injected into it, the ancient umbrella began to slowly dissipate. This wasn't caused by the palm. However, just as it was about to dissipate completely, Wang Lin revealed a ferocious expression as he was being knocked back. There was a hint of madness in his eyes as he roared, "Explode!" The ancient umbrella that was about to dissipate trembled, and as Wang Lin's word echoed, a destructive aura spread out from within it. The entire Fire Sparrow clan Holy Land completely collapsed. The gray palm print created from the armor completely collapsed. Outside the door to the Fire Sparrow clan's Holy Land, the ancestor was sitting down and cultivating. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the door. However, at this moment, the door collapsed, and countless fragments of the door rushed at him. It was too sudden, so the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor didn't have time to react at all before the fragments landed on him. He coughed out blood and quickly retreated with shock and terror in his eyes along with disbelief. Wang Lin's figure flashed out from the collapsed door and quickly escaped. Behind him, the collapse of the Holy Land turned into an endless destructive force that erupted outward. The sovereign's roar came from within as he rushed out of the destructive force after Wang Lin. Although he was seriously injured, he could still chase after Wang Lin. As he charged out, the sovereign raised his hand and mercilessly slammed forward. Another palm print appeared and rushed forward. It instantly caught up to Wang Lin and was about to destroy him. At the moment of danger, blood flowed out from the corner of Wang Lin's mouth as he quickly retreated. His hands formed seals and the wind and rain realm appeared around Wang Lin. The palm collided with the wind and rain realm. The wind and rain realm collapsed with a bang. Wang Lin coughed out blood and white light came from his body. Endless white light came from the cultivation planet and condensed around Wang Lin to form a large light silhouette. Tao Master Blue Dream's spell, Light and Shadow Shield. The moment the light and shadow shield appeared, the palm print landed on it. The shield flickered violently, attempting to reflect the power, but it only lasted for a few breaths before collapsing. Endless fragments of the shield scattered, and Wang Lin's face turned extremely pale, and he coughed out blood once more. Seeing that the palm print was about to land on his body, Wang Lin let out a roar. His ancient god stars rotated rapidly, and the Emperor Furnace flew out from his first star. The Emperor Furnace appeared around Wang Lin, forming a shield, and collided with the palm print, chasing him. There was a loud buzz as Wang Lin was knocked back and countless injuries appeared on his body. The Emperor Furnace didn't collapse, but it wasn't able to take form due to the force from the palm print, and it was knocked back into Wang Lin's first ancient god star. This sovereign wants to see how you will resist, how you will escape. Sovereign chased after Wang Lin with killing intent in his eyes. The palm print was only 7 feet from Wang Lin, and its pressure shook his mind. It was as if his origin soul was going to be forced out of his body. At the most critical moment, Wang Lin raised his right hand and placed it before him. A surge of ancient god power appeared and formed a gauntlet. The ancient god treasure refined from the bone of an ancient god. The moment the ancient god gauntlet appeared, the palm print landed on it, causing a thunderous rumble. Wang Lin coughed out blood 7 times. The cultivation planet couldn't withstand the force and directly collapsed. The entire cultivation planet was torn apart. Large amounts of cracks appeared on the surface. It was like a ball of water that was blown apart, instantly disintegrating. Wang Lin was thrown back and collided with the center of the planet. He went through the center of the collapsed planet and came out the other side. He retreated like crazy. His body was on the verge of collapse, and his origin soul was weakened. Fortunately, his body was that of an ancient god. Otherwise, just the impact would have been enough to kill him. Although this was the case, he had directly blocked a blow from the sovereign. Still not dead, the sovereign sped across space and his right hand pushed out once more. Another palm print shot toward Wang Lin at an even faster speed and stronger force. Wang Lin's expression was ferocious as he raised his left hand and pointed at this right arm. He roared, 8-star ancient god life-saving spell, Ancient Blessing. The ancient god power inside Wang Lin rushed into this gauntlet at a rapid pace. As his words echoed, a mighty ancient god aura appeared among the stars. From afar, an ancient god the size of a cultivation planet suddenly appeared before Wang Lin. This ancient god was illusory and gave off an ancient aura. His body was covered in injuries, making it obvious that it had been through a lot of battles. His face was facing the palm print, and his arms were wrapped around Wang Lin. He was protecting Wang Lin with his body as if he was protecting a child. Waves of warmth entered Wang Lin's body. It was like being in the arms of one's parent. Even if the world was falling apart, the parent would protect you. The moment the ancient god appeared, the sovereign's palm print arrived and landed on the ancient god's back. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the stars. The ancient god remained motionless, and the palm print collapsed. It was as if this blow was like a mere mosquito colliding with it. Even the sovereign's eyes narrowed when he saw this. He was just about to use a spell when the ancient god moved. Ancient Blessing was a life-saving spell given to a child ancient god, and it wasn't just for defense. The huge ancient god suddenly turned, and the sovereign's pupil shrank. As it turned around, a punch was launched at the sovereign. The ancient god's forehead clearly revealed 8 rotating stars. The sovereign didn't have time to dodge at all before the ancient god's fist landed on him like a meteor. The sovereign's face turned pale and he coughed out blood. He was seriously injured. His body was knocked back and he let out a muffled goran. This punch caused the injuries he had just suffered from the vermilion bird beak, the realm-burning ancient umbrella, and the injuries from tens of thousands of years ago to erupt. With one punch, the ancient god dissipated, turned back into the gauntlet, and disappeared into Wang Lin's right arm. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He should be chosen to escape without any hesitation at this moment, but he waved his right hand. The blood sword shot out toward the sovereign. The sovereign took out some unknown treasure and blocked the blood sword, knocking it back. Wang Lin let out a sigh. His injuries were too heavy and he was merely holding on with one breath. If he let this breath go, he would immediately collapse. At this moment he grabbed the blood sword and escaped without hesitation. However, just as Wang Lin was about to escape with spatial bending, the sovereign's weak voice echoed across the world. However, when this voice entered Wang Lin's ears, it caused him to suddenly stop. Wang Lin, you bold, cruel, decisive, and cunning. Do you wish to become my soldier? If you agree, I can resurrect your wife. Not just awaken her soul, but completely resurrect her. Wang Lin's mind buzzed as if a bolt of thunder had struck him. There was madness in his eyes as he stared at the middle-aged man holding his chest. If I changed places with Sima Mo and his sister was 1 year, how would I choose? Perhaps that day will come. This day arrived. 5,000 words in a major chapter. Seizing the moment when brothers and sisters feel comfortable. Lio wishes for the like button for the video, for sharing, for channel follows without hesitation. Chapter 1432. Love and Gratitude. This old man isn't lying to you. As early as 1,200 years ago, I heard of your name and learned that the only reason you cultivate is to bring your wife back. The sovereign's voice was weak as it slowly floated among the stars, but they were like heavy hammers slamming on Wang Lin's mind. However, this impact turned into waves that surged in Wang Lin's brain, causing him to tune out the sovereign's voice. Only the last 4 words were like a bolt of lightning that tore open his flesh and rushed into his soul. Bring your wife back. This old man also knows that in order to bring your wife back, you have asked many cultivators for help, but in the end, none of them could help you. You probably don't believe my words. You presume that since I am seriously injured, how can I achieve this? This matter is indeed extremely difficult. Even if I wasn't injured, I wouldn't have the ability to bring your wife back. However, my teacher is someone on par with the ancient celestial sovereign. He is even famous in the ancient world. This old man will seek master for you and seek the life realm. He can harvest countless souls to form a longevity seal. Not only can your wife be resurrected, but even your only son can be resurrected as well. Wang Lin was completely frozen, and his mind rumbled. He was speechless for a while. He was already seriously injured and was holding on with just one breath. Now that he couldn't hold that breath anymore, his body trembled, and he coughed out blood. As long as you agree to become this old man's soldier, this old man can do it all for you. The voice was weak, but there was something magical about it, and it landed on Wang Lin's body. There was struggle in Wang Lin's eyes. His struggle had never been this intense. Neither Tao Master Blue Dream's proposal nor the first-generation Vermilion Bird's words could compare. None of them had directly struck at Wang Lin's most vulnerable spot in his heart. When it landed on his Tao heart, the impact was comparable to fishing the moon in the well, and it fished out Wang Lin's soul. In order to resurrect Li Muan, Wang Lin was willing to do anything. Risk everything? When he had no hope, he longed for hope. Right now there was hope. And even if it was just a glimmer, it weighed heavily in his heart. He struggled like crazy. Become this old man's soldier. You will be in existence beyond Master Simo, Qing Shui, and Qing Lin. You will be the most powerful death soldier I have. If you agree, this old man will give you the Tao name Master Ling Shang. Haven T, you spent your life trying to resurrect your wife and child. My teacher can do it. If you don't believe me, I can let teacher resurrect your wife first. And once you two reunite, it won't be too late to agree. Wang Lin's face was ashen, and the struggle in his mind had reached a limit. There was a voice frantically screaming in his mind, shaking his body. Take his offer. Become the sovereign's soldier so Wan Er can be resurrected. Wang Lin, Haven T, you've been cultivating all your life just for her. Take his offer. 1,500 years of being apart can finally come to an end. And Wang Ping can also be brought back. Isn't T reuniting your family your biggest dream? Take his offer. You are not going to become the sovereign's slave. You'll just have to listen to all his orders. Compare your personal freedom to Wan Er's life. Which is more important? Take his offer. Become the second Master Simo, and become a slave to the sovereign. Betray the inner realm. Break off from Situ Nan, Qing Shui, and everyone you knew in the inner realm. From now on, they your enemies. This voice became louder and louder until it became a heaven-shaking roar in Wang Lin's mind. His face turned pale and he subconsciously took a few steps back. Right now his eyes were bloodshot, he was trembling, and his mind was on the verge of collapse. The struggle to make a choice had turned into a flood that was drowning him. If one day the sovereign asked me to kill Situ, what would I do? If one day the sovereign asked me to kill Qing Shui, what would I do if one day the sovereign asked me to slaughter my way back into the inner realm? How could I face all those familiar faces, Zhou Yi, Zhou Ru, Big Head, everyone if one day the sovereign orders me to harm the second-generation Vermilion Bird? Will I be able to do it? There was a miserable smile on Wang Lin's face, and a shocking trace of blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth. His heart was being ripped in half due to this decision, and the pain was something words couldn't describe at all. Wan Er was his everything and his one weakness. He wouldn't allow anyone to hurt her. In order to resurrect Wan Er, Wang Lin could give up many things. In order to resurrect Wan Er, he could give up his vitality. Right now, he was willing to give up his life. However, there were some things that were even more important than his life. It was just that in life, there were emotions beside love that he couldn't cut off. From now on, I'll hand the soul refining sect to you on planet Suzaku. The soul refining sect's master, Dun Tian, had placed the soul refining sect's treasure in his hands after passing away. After placing the inheritance of the soul refining sect on his shoulders, Dun Tian closed his eyes. Smiling Situ Nan had given up the chance to take away the heaven-defying bead and had accompanied Wang Lin for hundreds of years. He had taught Wang Lin cultivation from Wang Lin's youth. A teacher, a father, a brother, and also a friend. If there was no Situ, there would be no Wang Lin. Wang Lin once said something about Situ that represented all the gratitude he felt towards Situ. I, Wang Lin, would never kneel to the heavens, only in respect for Situ. Zhou Yi was love-struck for his entire life. Nothing could cover his 1,000-year obsession. He had given Wang Lin a fortune that had allowed Wang Lin to avoid death. Zhou Yi was obsessed with Cheng Shuang. If Wang Lin chose to follow the sovereign, there would surely be a tragic battle between them. I, Zhou Yi, only want to do one thing in my life, to accompany Qing Shuang until the end of time. Brother Qing Shui had a cold face but a warm heart. Once he decided that Wang Lin was a cross-generation disciple of Bai Fang, he was willing to do anything to make sure no one harmed Wang Lin. Since he is my junior brother, no one can harm him. If you hurt one of his fingers, I will seek your life. Xianxia's madness, which had caused him to kill his wife, brought all his grief and indignation, was due to the schemes of the outer realm. If he found out that the junior brother he once protected had become the slave of the cause of his sorrow, how would he feel there was also the fifth-generation vermilion bird? He was clearly at the end of his lifespan, but he was still willing to help Wang Lin recover. He had even handed the vermilion bird divine sect to Wang Lin. His kind gaze would forever linger in Wang Lin's heart. This old man, Lu Yun, has lived his entire life for the vermilion bird divine sect. Even though I will soon die, I can now die with a smile. You excellent. Take care of the vermilion bird divine sect for me. The old vermilion bird divine emperor's dying wish was for Wang Lin to take care of the sect. Facing the kindness Wang Lin had received, he couldn't face the dead divine emperor's anger and disappointed gaze. The second-generation vermilion bird had only known Wang Lin for a few days. His hearty laughter, gratified expression, look of admiration, and kindness toward Wang Lin came to mind. He had fished up the dragon to gift its blood to Wang Lin, and had tried to save him many times during moments of danger in the trials. He had even roared at the first-generation vermilion bird in the heaven trial. The second-generation vermilion bird had gifted him the method to control the dragon and the ancient soul restriction. Also, before Wang Lin left, the second-generation vermilion bird had clearly disobeyed the first-generation vermilion bird's order and had to bear an unknown price to teach Wang Lin the vermilion bird clan's strongest spell, the realm-burning ancient umbrella. Little fellow, don't forget that the next time we meet you have to choose the seventh generation for this old man. Be sure to select a child with determination. You look rather cold, but even you were naughty at some point. Unfortunate, unfortunate. Ah, what is so good about duo cultivation? This old man really doesn't understand. There were still a lot of people. How could Wang Lin cut them all off with one choice? Master Simo's memory filled Wang Lin's mind. When he saw Master Simo's life, he felt like he was watching his own memories. The Master Simo today was Wang Lin's future. In order to resurrect his sister, Master Simo had given up the heaven-breaking sect and all his sect brothers. He had even given up his own soul to become the sovereign's dog, and had killed for the sovereign. With 1 point from the sovereign, even if it was Master Simo's own teacher, he would raise the butcher's knife as he shed tears. If he hadn't seen Master Simo's memory, Wang Lin's choice would have been even more difficult. If he hadn't experienced Tao Master Blue Dream's proposal, or the first-generation vermilion bird's words, Wang Lin still might not have been able to make the biggest decision in his life. A painful decision, but one he had to choose. After seeing Master Simo's memory, Wang Lin asked himself how he would choose if that day came. However, he didn't expect that day to arrive so quickly. This day was like a calamity. Fortunately, Master Simo's memory had given Wang Lin a path. I don't want to become Master Simo. Wang Lin murmured in a low voice. The struggle in his eyes was replaced by pain, but this pain was filled with determination. I don't want to become your slave. I don't want to betray their gratitude because of my choice. Love is the pain I can give up. It's what I spend my life cultivating for, but love isn't the only thing in my life. I admire someone like Master Simo, who can abandon everything and his own conscience just for one person. However, I'm afraid to choose. I'm afraid to face everyone that was kind to me. Even if my wife and child were to awaken, we would become puppets. I chose this. Perhaps your teacher can really awaken my wife and child, but if he can do it, then I, Wang Lin, can as well. My wife and child, I'll resurrect them myself. Wang Lin raised his head and stared at the startled sovereign. He turned and disappeared among the endless stars as he went far away. No one saw the 2 lines of crystal tears falling from Wang Lin's eyes, and they were scattered among this vast star system. Wan Ping Air, would you two blame me? Waking up early today, not updating on time even earlier. Leo went to deal with household chores, unsure what time I'll be back this afternoon. The new chapter tonight might be late. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1433. Was he really the sovereign? There was an inexplicable force that made Wang Lin choose but also not choose after facing this indescribable struggle. He turned into a ray of light and left. Tao Master Blue Dream had made Wang Lin chose once before, and the first generation Vermilion Bird had made Wang Lin chose a second time. These instances had allowed his Tao heart to match the of a master of a generation. More importantly, if he hadn't entered Master Simo's memory and seen someone who had a similar life but chose the different path, Wang Lin might have chosen to stay to become the Sovereign S slave. The Sovereign S words had hit Wang Lin's weak point. After leaving the Fire Sparrow clan, the collapse of the Holy Land created a devastating fire that raged in all directions. The fire destroyed nearly half the Fire Sparrow clan, and the monstrous fire glowed behind Wang Lin. Thunderous rumbles came from the distance and shook the star domain, but Wang Lin didn't awaken from his daze. His heart seemed to be torn apart and pain filled his body. After an unknown amount of time, the confusion in Wang Lin's eyes gradually dissipated and was replaced with bleakness. The injury inside him had reached a point where he had to recover, or else his cultivation would irreversibly regress. After reaching his cultivation level, an ordinary injury would be no problem, but once he was seriously injured, it was a serious matter. If he was a bit careless, his cultivation level would fall. Fortunately, as an ancient god, the recovery of his physical body was extremely powerful. This was an obvious difference between him and ordinary cultivators. Some injuries that might require other 100 years to recover would take Wang Lin much less time to heal. Wan Air, believe me, I'll personally awaken you then. Together with Ping Air, we can live in a mountain village somewhere where no one knows us. And we will quietly spend a lifetime. I also want to teach Ping Air how to carve, to pass down my father's craft, Wang Lin murmured, and he suddenly felt homesick. He wanted to see the star system of his home. Although the ancient star system was very large, he felt no sense of belonging here. In this vast star system, one couldn't see the end. The stars were bright but emitted no warmth. There was only a feeling of coldness. Wang Lin felt a powerful sense of loneliness in his heart. Wang Lin had spent 2,000 years alone. He had grown accustomed to being lonely. His indifferent expression wasn't something he made deliberately. It was just after spending 2,000 years alone, he didn't know any other expression. He only knew indifference. He rarely smiled. The only thing that remained was the sorrow that couldn't be erased, hidden deep under his indifferent eyes. It was sorrow that had accompanied him all his life. Feeling bitter, Wang Lin's injuries became even worse. He staggered as he took a step and merged with the world using spatial bending. He crossed an immeasurable distance and then appeared outside an abandoned planet. Perhaps this cultivation planet was brilliant once, or maybe a powerful cultivator had been born here. However, now all its past glory was gone with the wind, leaving only the gravel and the cities void of spiritual energy. Just like an old man who had reached the end of his life, struggling, grasping, unwilling to give up his last breath. The east side of the planet was in autumn, and the cold autumn wind slowly blew by. The leaves rolled across the ground, their yellow color like the spots on an old man's face, giving off the feeling of desolation. As the autumn leaves flew in the wind, one could see a river in the distance between the leaves. A white figure was sitting beside the river, allowing the yellow autumn leaves to blow past. Wang Lin looked at the surface of the water. Some of the autumn leaves had been sent here by the wind and floated on the river. After they'd been soaked, they drifted into the distance. The wind had brought them here into the water, and they would never be able to return to their homeland. They would be sent to some unknown place, and perhaps after a few seasons, become part of the river bed. If they had souls, perhaps their souls would fly out of the river and return to their homeland. The river reflected Wang Lin's figure and clearly reflected his appearance. The pale face, the indifferent gaze, and the sadness in his eyes all seemed to integrate into the river and flow far away. Wang Lin murmured softly, "It's time to go home." There was another path home beside the sealed realm formation. It was the jade given to him by the mysterious woman in the spatial crack in the rank region of the Cloud Sea Star system. Back then, the woman had said that she would help him explore a place and then gave Wang Lin this jade. Once he used the jade, he would return back into the spatial crack. Wang Lin had studied the jade many times. There were many restrictions inside, some that not even he could see through. It seemed like many of the restrictions inside were not things cultivators of this world could master. They seemed to come from another world. However, Wang Lin was a grandmaster at restrictions, although he couldn't completely see through then. He could tell that the jade had a 70% chance of sending him back into that spatial crack. Holding the jade, Wang Lin didn't open it but placed it back into his storage space. A certain amount of power was required to activate this jade, but this was secondary. More importantly, he wouldn't appear before the mysterious woman in his current state. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin looked at the blue sky and muttered to himself. Was he really the sovereign? After he seriously injured the middle-aged man inside the seven-colored flame, the man had admitted that he was the sovereign. However, after calming down, Wang Lin couldn't help but wonder. That person's cultivation was very powerful. He could fight off the vermilion bird origin spirit, use fishing the moon in the well, knew about Master Simo, and knew about Wang Lin. Add all this up and he could be the cunning sovereign. His cultivation is fire, and he has the seven-colored vermilion bird. He should be the traitorous third vermilion bird. But is he really the sovereign? The reason Wang Lin had guessed the third vermilion bird was the sovereign was because the sovereign was the most mysterious person in the ancient star system. No one knew which clan he belonged to. In addition to this, back in the demon spirit land, Wang Lin once met a person. Later he found out that this person was the sovereign's disciple. This person used fire spells. That fire spell was not something an ordinary person could cast. It was clear that it was someone who was reaching the edge of the fire essence. All of this made Wang Lin come up with a good guess. Combining some other clues, Wang Lin had determined that the traitorous third vermilion bird was the sovereign. It was because of this that the Sovereign Council knew about the truth of the fallen land and didn't dare to do anything. However, after seeing the sovereign personally, Wang Lin became suspicious. Qing Lin once said that the sovereign's essence was the essence of origin. However, that person never used the law of origin. Most importantly, the sovereign has cultivated for tens of thousands of years. He is extremely cunning and has schemed against the inner realm many times. The middle-aged man that admitted he was the sovereign didn't seem to have the aura of someone like that. It was as if he wasn't really that powerful. Wang Lin frowned after pondering a bit. He still couldn't find the answer. He let out a sigh and no longer thought about this. He then took out the few remaining pills he had and swallowed them all. Then he closed his eyes and began to cultivate. The autumn wind blew and Wang Lin's figure slowly became blurry. It was as if he had merged with his surroundings. Even if a cultivator came, they wouldn't notice that there was someone sitting at the side of the lake. Time slowly passed. In the blink of any eye, 3 days went by. Wang Lin's origin soul's injuries didn't improve, but it was no longer deteriorating. However, a majority of his physical injuries had recovered. Ignoring his spells, with just his 6-star ancient god power, he was at around 50% of his peak. Wang Lin knew he was short on time. He had seriously injured that person that he suspected to be the sovereign and must have set off a huge wave in the ancient star system. Surely there were people pursuing him now, and there was also that bounty on him. As for the fallen land, it had already been sealed by others. If he were to rush back now, he wouldn't be able to enter. He'd just fall into a trap. That's why he had done all he could to recover his cultivation. However, on this day while Wang Lin was cultivating, he suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a glint of coldness. His heart felt a strange sense of shock. This was an early warning sense he had developed after reaching his current cultivation level. Something is wrong. Wang Lin stood up and looked around. His expression became gloomy. The surroundings had become completely silent. Even the autumn wind had disappeared. Right now it was night, and the bright moon was hanging in the sky. The moonlight fell on the earth, allowing Wang Lin to see the fine ripples on the river spread out. The autumn leaves that were falling into the river also began to rotate in a circle. Without hesitation, Wang Lin took a step forward and the world distorted, ripples echoing around him. With this step, he should have dissipated and merged with the world. Just as he was about to merge with the world, the sky rumbled and changed colors. A giant crack suddenly appeared. A powerful pressure descended upon this abandoned planet, and a giant hand reached out from inside the crack. It rapidly extended toward Wang Lin, who was about to merge with the world. Finally, the weekend is here, and Leo can finally sleep to his heart's content, not needing to get up early to take the daughter to school. Been burning the midnight oil these past few days, utterly exhausted. Chapter 1434. Esteemed Heavenly Wolf. The crack that had suddenly appeared in the sky let out a heaven-shaking roar. This sound was not like a roar, but more like the howl of a wolf. It caused Wang Lin's body that had already began merging with the world to be forced out. All of this happened in a flash. The moment Wang Lin's body was forced out by the wolf howl, the giant hand reached over. It seemed like everything had been perfectly calculated, from finding Wang Lin, predicting Wang Lin would use spatial bending, and then using this strange wolf howl to block Wang Lin's escape. In an instant, the arm closed in. The aura from the arm contained Joss flames. The person who wanted to capture Wang Lin was not a second-step cultivator but a third-step cultivator. To be precise, it was someone who had just entered the third step. Someone like Taoist Water and Master Simo at early stage of Nirvana Void. In particular, that aura felt extremely tyrannical as it charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin suddenly turned around without hesitation. He waved his hand and a nail appeared in his grasp. This nail was black and gave off a sinister flash. There were even mournful roars coming from it. This nail had been given to Wang Lin by the old man as a gift due to the old vermilion bird. Wang Lin waved his hand without hesitation, and the nail shot toward the palm. All of this happened in a flash. In an instant, the nail formed a gust of black wind and collided with the palm. A thunderous bang echoed as the nail penetrated the palm and collapsed. As it collapsed, it spread across the entire palm like ink and extended toward the arm. As the autumn wind blew, the arm trembled and dissipated into black ash. The strength of the nail was outside of Wang Lin's expectation. Although the palm had dissipated, the tyrannical aura still hit him. Wang Lin coughed out blood as he viciously waved his hand. The ancient leaf flew out like a meteor toward the spatial rift. Seal! The ancient leaf grew to more than 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, and instantly sealed the spatial rift. Roars came from the rift as Wang Lin took a step forward and merged with the world. In a flash, he disappeared using spatial bending. 3 breaths after he left, the ancient leaf sealing the rift turned into specks of light and dissipated. Wang Lin stepped out somewhere in the ancient star system. His right hand formed a seal and he said, "Fallen leaf, return to your roots." A flash of crystal light appeared before him and turned into the ancient leaf, and he took it. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes as he quickly rushed forward. He used spatial bending again and disappeared without a trace. I can return to the spatial crack in the cloud sea in my current state. The pursuit of the Sovereign Council has begun again. That's fine. I have lived my life in danger. I don't fear a mere bounty by the Sovereign Council. I want to see how many powerful cultivators will be lured out. While being hunted, I'll use the Devour spell to recover my cultivation. Wang Lin sneered. After the ancient leaf disappeared from the spatial rift above the abandoned planet, a figure walked out. This person was a burly man about 30 feet tall. His upper body was bare and he had a ferocious expression. His gaze was ruthless and cold. Above his brows was a mark. It was a ferocious green wolf. Under the command of the Sovereign Council, one of the 4 vicious ancient star system clans, the esteemed Heavenly Wolf Clan. He wasn't by himself. There was a girl sitting on his shoulder. The girl was wearing red and had a charming appearance. Her beautiful face was like a peach, and her eyebrows were elegant. Just a raise of her hand could charm the minds of many. There was also a mark between her eyebrows. This mark was extremely strange, and if Wang Lin saw this, he would recognize this as the mark belonging to the extremely mysterious Sealing Extermination Clan. Back in the 7-colored realm, Wang Lin met an old man from the Sealing Extermination Clan, and he had made Wang Lin face a life-and-death crisis. In particular, that Tao spell was engraved into Wang Lin's memory. This girl hadn't reached the 3rd step yet, and was only at the 3rd heaven blight. She held a compass in her hand and bowed a few times. Then she looked up and smiled. Directly east, 197,845 kilometers. However, your right arm is poisoned, and your combat power has been decreased by 30%. Without my help, that poison will not be easy to force out. The burly man let out a cold snort and took a step forward. The world trembled, and the abandoned planet trembled. The earth collapsed, and was torn apart in a flash. The planet collapsed as the burly man took a step into the void, causing a powerful shockwave began to spread. However, before it could spread far, the burly man's left hand reached out and grabbed the destructive force. This force was formed into a ball of light, and he threw it forward. The ball of light landed in the void and caused the void to twist, forming a black hole. The burly man stepped into the black hole. Wang Lin was moving with spatial bending through the ancient star system. Just as he appeared, he raised his hand and threw the ancient leaf behind him without any hesitation. Just at this moment, a black hole appeared in the space behind him. The burly man S figure began to appear. However, just as the black hole appeared, the ancient leaf suddenly landed on it. Seal, Wang Lin's indifferent word echoed, but his eyes flashed. He faintly saw the girl on the shoulder of the burly man, and the mark between her eyebrows shocked him. Wang Lin silently disappeared. Roars came from the black hole like crazy and thunderous rumbles echoed, but the ancient leaf remained unmoving. A moment later, another black hole appeared not far from the ancient leaf, and the burly man from the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan walked out. He gloomily turned around and looked at the ancient leaf. When he looked at it, the leaf turned into crystal light and dissipated. Damn it, what kind of treasure is this? Master Simo has battled with this person. Why didn't he say anything? Also, that Grandmaster Yun Luo immediately went into closed-door cultivation after returning. You must not underestimate this person, if not for the fact that he is seriously injured. It wouldn't be easy for you to capture him with your cultivation level. The maiden smiled and looked down at the compass in her hand. Northwest, 378,496 kilometers. The burly man coldly looked at the girl on his shoulder. Although he was at the third step, he didn't want to offend this girl too much. This girl was the maid of Tao Master Miao Yin, one of the 5 masters of the ancient star system. She had come to him herself to help him capture and kill Wang Lin. He said, "Your master should have gone to the ancient order tomb. What is your purpose for looking for me?" The burly man was in no rush to chase after Wang Lin. It's unsure if it is the ancient order tomb, but after checking the ancient records, we are somewhat certain. Forget my master. Most of the powerful cultivators in the ancient star system have gone there. Forget about this. That person is more than 1,000,000 kilometers away. If you don't pursue, he will escape too far. The girl smiled and looked even more charming. The burly man didn't speak and coldly stared at the girl. Fine, I'll speak. Once you capture him, you have to let me take something from him. If you agree, the Tao Sovereign will award you a rank 6 Tao Spirit as thanks. The girl blinked and smiled. The burly man silently pondered for a bit. He didn't speak but took a step forward. Northwest, 2,790,461 kilometers. Hey, it's one of your esteemed Heavenly Wolf Clan's branches. The burly man let out a cold snort, and the space before him was torn. His figure disappeared. Wang Lin stepped out of the distorted space in the ancient star system. There were 6 cultivation planets arranged in a circle before him, and there was a formation set around them. It was a clan in the ancient star system. At a glance, there was an illusory wolf head flashing on the formation. It was like a sign telling all the cultivators that passed by which clan this area belonged to. Wolf? Wang Lin thought about the wolf howl coming from the spatial rift. Wang Lin let out a snort and quickly charged toward the 6 cultivation planets. His body suddenly expelled blood fog, which eventually shrouded his body. It was as if his flesh, origin soul, and soul had all turned into this devouring red fog. The blood mist instantly became more than 100,000 feet wide and continued to expand. It rumbled as it charged into the branch of the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan. The formation flashed violently, but wasn't able to stop the blood mist's invasion. The blood mist formed by Wang Lin charged into a cultivation planet. Mournful screams echoed and spread out like crazy. However, in just a moment, these cries stopped, and it became dead silent. All the cultivators above a certain cultivation level were surrounded by the mist. Their entire bodies were turned into blood, and were then absorbed. The red mist quickly spread toward the remaining cultivation planets. The people's mournful cries normally can spread beyond the planet, but due to the large amount of voices, they spread across the stars. These 6 cultivation planets were a new branch created by the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan, and there were no mortals on them, just cultivators. When the red mist swept by, a majority of them died. A black hole appeared among the stars, and the burly man from the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan stepped out of it. The moment he stepped out, he could hear the mournful screams enter his ears. His body trembled and monstrous killing intent appeared in his eyes. With a roar, the burly man charged forward, and the sky seemed to collapse as he charged. Behind him, the projection of a giant green wolf appeared. Day in, day out, nearing 3,000 words, reading a lot, but can't force myself to split the story into 2,000 words chapters, because then the flavor's gone. Leo with tears in his eyes, longing for the like button for the video. Chapter 143. 3 Cold Cores. It took Wang Lin 10 days to slowly move from the corpse valley back to the cave. After he appeared outside the cave, he carefully checked his surroundings. When he was sure that nothing was wrong, he came out and dragged the dragon out with him. The ground shook and alerted Li Muwan. She opened the formation and poked her head out after Wang Lin called her. However, the moment she poked her head out, her eyes were drawn to the foot-long dragon. She was dumbfounded for a long time. Wang Lin dragged the dragon into the formation and said to Li Muwan, "Would the bones of this dragon be enough for the formation?" Li Muwan nodded in a daze as her mind was a complete mess. She had seen records of this type of dragon. They were powerful enough to kill late-stage nascent soul cultivators, and their entire bodies could be considered treasures. Inside the head of the dragon was a dragon pill. It was a natural pill that only needed a bit of refinement to become a real pill that would increase cultivation. The dragon's skin was top-quality material for making armor, and the dragon's bones and tendons were also rare materials. The most precious material of all, though, was the marrow. The quality of the marrow depended on the age of the dragon. The older the dragon, the less marrow. Once it reaches a certain age, it will become a dragon pill. The dragon pill was something even ancient cultivators would dream of. It would allow one to obtain a dragon's body and allow them to switch back and forth. Also, from that point on, they will never reach a bottleneck when cultivating. However, for a dragon to form a dragon pill, it would need to be alive for 9,990,000 years. This was why no exact records of the dragon pill existed. Its effects were still only rumors and legends. After passing the dragon to Li Muwan, he no longer bothered with it and went on his way. He had obtained everything he needed besides a furnace in this trip, but he learned that there was a place called the Treasure Refining Pavilion where he could buy one. The Treasure Refining sect had a lot of shops all over the Sea of Devils. The closest one was in North Dipper City, kilometers away. However, things like a pill furnace usually cost a lot, and after hearing Sang Muya say that the head of the Fighting Evil sect had spent almost all of the sect's spirit stones for one pill furnace, he gave up on the idea of going to buy one. He decided to put the matter of the furnace aside for now. Because they had the dragon's bones, the 9 skeleton formation will be strong enough to provide them decent protection. Wang Lin was going to go into closed-door training, aiming for the core formation stage. Wang Lin sat down in one of the stone rooms and sealed it with a large rock. Then he took out flying swords and pointed at the ground. The flying swords immediately flew into the ground and started digging a tunnel to the bottom of the mountain. Wang Lin's eyes became serious as he shot out some spiritual energy that became a ball of fire. The color of the fire gradually became light blue. Wang Lin slightly frowned, but his face immediately lightened up. Rank common earth yin. Although it couldn't compare to the corpse valley, it was more than enough for common cold cores. His body moved and jumped into the bottom of the pit. It reached rank common earth yin. This was clearly the limit, so he put out the ball of fire and began to cultivate. Wang Lin had already learned the underworld ascension method once, so he was able to quickly pick it up again. Time slowly passed, and 3 days later, Wang Lin opened his eyes. His eyes revealed a contemplating expression before he took out the heaven-defying bead and gathered the spirit liquid. Time quickly passed by. Aside from cultivating, Wang Lin only gathered the spirit liquid from the heaven-defying bead every day. Once he had gathered enough dew, he would spend part of the day cultivating inside the heaven-defying bead with the spirit liquid. As a result, his progress was very rapid. It only took him 1 month to form 2 cold cores. He only needed to form the last one to attempt to reach the core formation stage. This last cold core would take longer to make. After all, he had only formed 2 cold cores last time. However, he was at the peak of late-stage foundation establishment, so at least it wouldn't take him years of cultivation for it to finally form. Wang Lin was confident that he could form his 3rd cold core within 3 months. As a result, he wasn't in a rush at all. Aside from cultivating and gathering spirit liquid, he found time every day to nurture some devils. Wang Lin had tried many times, but he couldn't imprint his divine sense onto the devil, so he had to work around it by slowly nurturing them. Speaking of the devil, he was of great use for Wang Lin. He slowly took out souls from the soul flag and fed them to the devil. All of the souls inside this soul flag were cultivators from the Sea of Devils, and a majority of them were disciples of the fighting evil sect. According to Xianxia, all of these souls belonged to people who fought with him for the attention of their master. After they were killed by him, he sealed their souls inside. Time slowly passed, and by the time the devil had devoured most of the souls in the soul flag, a sliver of Wang Lin's divine sense developed inside the devil. The devil itself hadn't realized that this sliver of Wang Lin's divine sense had developed within itself as it thought about ways to escape. 3 months had passed since he had gone into closed-door cultivation. The prototype for his third cold core had already formed. In these 3 months he had gone outside several times. The room Li Muan was in was filled with materials. She even managed to get some soil from somewhere and planted some spirit herbs. There was also a formation of low and medium quality spirit stones laid out around the spirit herbs to ensure they had enough spiritual energy to grow. A small pill furnace was placed in the center of the room with a pile of failed pills beside it. Li Muan had started refining pills when Wang Lin had gone into closed-door cultivation. Aside from the failures on the ground, there were also jades scattered on the floor. Whenever Li Muan gets stuck or had some inspiration, she would immediately search through the jades. Of the 4 rooms inside the cave, 1 was used for Wang Lin's cultivation, 1 was for alchemy, 1 was for growing plants, and the last one had been renovated into a shower room by Li Muan. The Sea of Devils was filled with fog, so the air was very humid. The inside the cave was no exception. Clothes will get wet very quick and stick to your body. Li Muan was a girl, and adding on the sticky feeling the wet clothes gave her, she really couldn't stand it anymore. So she put in a lot of effort to make this shower room. Wang Lin didn't care about the shower room at all, because all he had to do was cycle his spiritual energy, and all of the yin energy would be sucked into his cold core. The 9 skeleton formation S power had greatly increased with the dragon S bones. However, Li Muan said that it should be called the 9 dragon bone formation instead of the 9 skeleton formation. The moment the formation was turned on, it could trap a core formation cultivator for months, or block a nascent soul cultivator for a few days. However, Li Muan regretted that they couldn't catch the dragon while it was alive, because if they had infused the dragon's soul into the formation, it would be even stronger. Not only would it be able to defend, it would also be able to attack. Any core formation cultivator would die instantly, and a nascent soul cultivator would be forced away in a sorry state. Unfortunately, the soul of a dragon was too hard to obtain, so she could only dream about it. As for the dragon, Li Muan took out the Dragon S pill and stored it until she obtains a better pill furnace. As for the skin, Li Muan spent a month removing it from the dragon and stored it for later. In addition to all of this, there were the Dragon S tendons. This was the third mysterious part of the dragon aside from the Dragon S pill and marrow. If a treasure refiner was here, they would be able to refine the tendons into weapons that could change their size at will and split into countless branches. The last part was a small bottle of bone marrow. It was so precious that Li Muan was scared of using it to refine pills. She handed these things over to Wang Lin and painfully withdrew her gaze. Wang Lin kept the Dragon S marrow and veins and gave everything else to Li Muan. With her tender hands, she made 2 inner armors from the Dragon S hide. After Wang Lin put one on, he looked at the other one that was clearly made for a woman and threw it at Li Muan. She let out a smile as she silently put it away in her bag of holding. There was still a lot of Dragon S hide left after the armor was made, so Wang Lin put it all away to exchange for other resources in the future. The entire dragon became various treasures. Another month passed and Wang Lin finally formed his third cold core. The yin energy cycled through the cold core at his head, chest, and dantian. Wang Lin opened his eyes and revealed an excited look. He closed his eyes and decided to do it all in one go, so he fused the 3 cold cores into one. Sijunan had explained in detail before about the process of fusing the 3 cold cores into one. The fusion was divided into the initial step and completion. If he could reach the initial step, then he would truly be half a step into the core formation stage. If he were to take the distant heaven pill at the same moment he completes the fusion, then he would have a chance of reaching the core formation stage. He didn't let Li Muan complete the distant heaven pill because it required a better pill furnace, and there was only one incomplete pill. He had to ensure the highest success rate of the pill being completed. At the same time, he made the backup plan of using the demonic blood root to make a fake distant heaven pill. Before, he thought buying a pill furnace would be too expensive, but now that he had the Dragon S hide, he could try to get one. If it was still not enough, then he would do whatever was necessary to get a pill furnace. He took a deep breath and began to attempt fusing his cold cores. International Children's Day brings tears and wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1435, Wang Lin S. Ambush. This green wolf was 100,000 feet large. Although it was small in space, it was still enough to shock the mind of anyone who saw it up close. The monstrous red mist began to condense on the last of the 6 esteemed heavenly wolf clan-s cultivation planets. Wang Lin's figure appeared. There was a flash of red in his eyes, and his origin soul-s injuries recovered a bit. With an indifferent gaze, his hand pushed toward the 6 cultivation planets. With this, the restrictions Wang Lin had left on the 6 cultivation planets erupted, and one of the planets collapsed. The power of the collapse shook the star domain. This was an abandoned cultivation planet, but one filled with spiritual energy that the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan had spent a lot of effort to obtain. The collapse of a planet like this couldn't be compared to the collapse of an abandoned planet. What collapsed wasn't just the mountains and land, but the powerful spiritual energy. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the cultivation planet was torn apart. The powerful impact turned into a storm that quickly spread. Wang Lin grasped the timing of the impact extremely well. He knew that the enemy would arrive at any time, so he had left this on the planet while he was devouring it. Almost at the instant the burly man closed in, the planet collapsed. If it was just one cultivation planet, it wouldn't show Wang Lin's decisiveness and ruthlessness. After the first planet, the remaining 5 also exploded. The powerful impact was mixed with countless fragments. The constant collapse formed a heaven-shattering force that spread in all directions. From afar, it looked as if space itself was collapsing. It was like the apocalypse. The storm formed by the collapse of the 6 cultivation planets was like a big mouth that devoured the burly man. In a flash, he was swallowed inside the storm. Rumble, 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 rumble. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the stars, but just at this moment, a shocking wolf howl echoed. From within the collapse of the 6 planets, a ferocious wolf rushed out. Although its size didn't change, its body was more ethereal now and it looked a lot weaker. After it rushed out, it charged at Wang Lin with an angry roar. Like the wolf devouring the moon, it directly tried to swallow Wang Lin. Seeing the wolf close in, Wang Lin revealed a sneer and retreated. He waved his right hand and a tortoise shell appeared before him. The moment the tortoise appeared, a ghostly light pierced in all directions like sharp swords. There was a violent flicker and the tortoise shell expanded like crazy. In the blink of an eye, it turned into an incomparably large tortoise beast. This tortoise shell was gifted to him by the old vermilion bird. It was the ancient soul restriction that was originally above the arena. The tortoise appeared and protected Wang Lin under it. It let out a hiss when the wolf arrived and hit its shell. From afar, this was a shocking scene. The storm of the 6 cultivation planets collapse spread out. Outside the storm, a giant green wolf howled and collided with a giant tortoise. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the stars and turned into ripples that spread in all directions like the waves in a raging sea. The tortoise shell rapidly shrank and was put back into Wang Lin's storage space as he retreated. As for the green wolf, it was first damaged by the collapse of the 6 cultivation planets and then collided with the ancient soul restriction. More than half its body had collapsed, and it was knocked back more than 100,000 feet. The burly man walked out of the storm of the collapsed planets. He waved his hand and the collapsed wolf returned to him. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes and blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth as he continued to retreat. Ripples appeared under his feet as if he was going to leave using spatial bending, but his gaze was locked onto the girl on the burly man's shoulder. Even the girl didn't think Wang Lin would be locked onto her while escaping. If she understood Wang Lin, she would definitely have felt that something bad was coming. The burly man's eyes were filled with killing intent and he was about to chase. However, his expression changed and an ethereal fire ignited in his body. In the blink of an eye, the fire filled his body, and even the wolf behind him was shrouded in this fire and started letting out mournful cries. Ethereal fire cultivator. Damn it! The burly man's face immediately turned pale and he coughed out blood. There was shock in his eyes. The girl on his shoulder frowned as she looked at the retreating Wang Lin, who was about to escape. She raised her hand to touch her brow and softly said, "As the descendant of the Sealing Extermination clan, I summon my clan's seal to seal his retreat." Just as she said those words, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Within the shockwave caused by the 6 collapsed cultivation planets, there was a monstrous bloodlight. The blood sword had long been hidden in a cultivation planet. Even after the cultivation planet collapsed, it still hid itself inside the chaos, not appearing. However, right now it suddenly appeared. As the bloodlight lit up the area, it shot toward the girl. The blood sword was so fast that it instantly closed in on the girl. It charged at the woman, targeting the area between her eyebrows. The girl was stunned by this. A bloodlight flashed and pierced through her brow at an unimaginable speed. It returned back to Wang Lin in a flash, and Wang Lin escaped using spatial bending. Clean and precise. This scene caused the pupils of the burly man of the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan to shrink. His mind trembled, and a feeling of fear appeared in his heart. He is clearly an ethereal fire cultivator, but he didn't use it. He waited until that moment to trigger my emotions, and then used the moment I was suppressing the fire to take the life of Tao Master Miao Yin's maid with that sword he had hidden within the planets. What a terrifying scheme. That sword was also a strange object. It was extremely fast and also extremely sharp. He knows that I am a third-step cultivator, and that I may have been able to resist the blood sword. In order to ensure the kill, he gave up on attacking me and decided to destroy the maid. There was a hint of fear in the burly man's thoughts. What he feared wasn't Wang Lin's cultivation, but those endless treasures and schemes that ran as deep as the ocean. He didn't know that the real reason Wang Lin had targeted the girl was because he had recognized the mark between the girl's eyebrows. The power and terror that mark represented had left a deep impression on Wang Lin. Sealing Extermination Clan, one of the small clans of the ancient star system. With this woman here, all of Wang Lin's spells could be sealed. Once sealed, the consequences would be unpredictable. From Wang Lin's point of view, although her cultivation level wasn't high, the danger she brought wasn't weaker than this nirvana void burly man. What a ruthless person. A faint sigh came from the burly man. Light gradually returned to the eyes of the girl who had her forehead pierced with the blood sword. The wound between her eyebrows moved and rapidly recovered. However, a permanent scar had appeared there. The wound on the back of her head also recovered. The girl raised her finger, wiped the blood off the mark from her forehead, and placed it in her mouth. Very terrifying calculations and schemes. He had long figured out the route we would pursue him. He first left restrictions on the cultivation planets and exploded them when we got close. While we were distracted by the planets exploding, we didn't notice the hidden flying sword that was his true goal. The girl's eyes lit up. He probably knows that I am someone from the Sealing Extermination clan. This whole trap was set just to kill me. The girl revealed a smile, but it contained a hint of fear she couldn't hide. What a deep scheme. Once he determined we were enemies, he was decisive and ruthless. This kind of character is not easy to provoke. We had underestimated his strength. Even Master had underestimated his strength. If not for the fact that my Sealing Extermination clan has the 3-soul spell, I would be dead. The girl clenched her teeth. Although she looked calm, she was filled with fear. In that moment she didn't even have time to think, and she had already died once. This was the first time she had experienced something like this in her life. Continue to chase. Even if we chase him to the end of the world, we have to kill him. Northeast 1734,532 kilometers. This person's schemes run deep and everything has to be taken into consideration. I fear even his escape route has meaning. This direction, the woman whispered as her hand holding the compass trembled. She suddenly looked up toward the northeast. That is the location of the Ancient Order tomb. Why did he choose to escape there? The burly man from the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan silently ripped open the void and walked into it. After he left, the rift slowly closed and the star domain calmed down, leaving only the collapsed planets that had formed a storm that was still spreading. The area outside the rift to the Ancient Order tomb was filled with dense fog. There was a terrifying power inside the fog, and not even third-step cultivators would dare to carelessly enter the fog. This fog covered a 1 million square kilometer area, and many cultivators of the ancient star system were present. No one had noticed that an upheaval was brewing inside the Ancient Order tomb inside the rift. A moment later, it erupted and shocked the entire ancient star system. Quickly approaching 3,900 words, Leo fierce as a tiger, wishing for sharing, for likes on the video, for channel followers. Chapter 1436. Ancient Order Tomb opens. A swirling vortex filled with the death aura coming from the Ancient Order tomb surged. There was also dense resentment coming from the heads of all the ancient gods, ancient demons, and ancient devils that were placed on those stone platforms within. They fused together, causing the storm to charge out like crazy in an attempt to rip the fog outside apart. The dense fog that filled the 1 million kilometers of space around the rift was pushed by this storm. There was a thunderous rumble that was weak at first but soon became louder and louder. In just a moment, it shook the entire star domain. The fog began to churn as if there was a spirit inside, and it swept the stars with endless rage. The churning fog moved violently and spread in all directions like crazy. Originally, there were many cultivators around the edges of the fog, observing it. Sometimes some powerful cultivators would even go inside and check. However, the expressions of all the cultivators here changed, and they rapidly retreated. The opening of the Ancient Order tomb had attracted the attention of all the powerful cultivators in the ancient star system. They had dropped everything and quickly rushed here. However, at this moment, these people that had rushed here were all shocked and had to retreat. The movement of the fog was like a collapse if one looked at it from above. It had turned into a giant storm and was expanding like crazy. An old man at the fourth heaven's blight didn't retreat fast enough and was caught by the fog. He let out a miserable scream and his body trembled violently. Then his flesh and blood corroded and he became a skeleton. His origin soul perished under the fog. Similar scenes took place everywhere as the fog expanded. The fog continued to expand violently by 100,000 kilometers, 300,000 kilometers, 500,000 kilometers, 1,000,000 kilometers. The fog continued to expand with no pause. 2 million kilometers, 3 million kilometers, 5 million kilometers, until it was more than 10 million, 100 million kilometers. As the storm spread out, many cultivators turned into skeletons and ashes. All of this happened in an instant, and it could be considered a calamity. However, not all the cultivators that were captured by the fog had perished. Almost 1 out of every 10 cultivators were devoured by the fog. These people would not only not get injured, but endless vitality would be injected into them as if they were now thousands of years younger. A strange mark also appeared beside their clan marks. This mark looked like a number mark. Or to be more accurate, they were numbers. Anyone with a number on their forehead would be sucked into the rift at the center by a force no one could resist. That was the entrance to the Ancient Order tomb. Tao Master Miao Yin's avatar, the beautiful youth, was rapidly retreating. His expression was gloomy. He had retreated tens of millions of kilometers but was unwilling to leave. Ancient Order tomb. This must be the Ancient Order tomb. Rumors say that this tomb has only ever been opened once since the beginning of time. Anyone who can enter will receive unimaginable fortunes. Whether it is treasures, spells, pills, and even methods for third-step cultivators to enter the void turbulent realm. Tao Master Miao Yin's expression was uncertain. He clenched his teeth and waved his hand. No one saw him open his Joss Flame realm, but Joss Flame souls surrounded his body. He was surrounded by Joss Flame souls. At a glance, all these souls were beautiful men and women. There were more than 10 billion of them. Just as he touched the fog, the 10 billion Joss Flame souls around him let out miserable screams. Charge! Tao Master Miao Yin's expression became twisted. He gave up retreating and charged forward. An unimaginable power came from inside the fog. This was a force no one could resist. As the powerful force rushed at Tao Master Miao Yin, more than 40% of the Joss Flame souls were destroyed. Tao Master Miao Yin's expression was deathly pale. At this moment, he had merely taken 3 steps forward. He clenched his teeth, let out a roar, and took another step. His hand formed a seal and a Tao spell surrounded his body. However, just as he took the 4th step, the fog rushed into him directly. The remaining 60% of the Joss Flame souls were all destroyed in an instant. Tao Master Miao Yin coughed out blood and rapidly retreated. I can enter by force, should I risk it? While retreating, a difficult decision appeared before him. Even if I give up an avatar, I have to gamble once. Tao Master Miao Yin's beautiful face became distorted. He stopped and didn't use any spells as he collided with the fog. His body was rushed by the fog and trembled violently. This avatar was at the mid-stage of spirit void, but as the fog rushed into him, his cultivation level dropped rapidly. Early stage spirit void, peak nirvana void, late stage, mid-stage, early stage. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation was weakened by 90%. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and his body rapidly withered. His elegant appearance was no longer there. However, just at this moment, a number mark appeared between his eyebrows. When the mark appeared, a suction force pulled him into the rift at the center. I understand. Third-step cultivators can resist this force, but early-stage nirvana void is the highest cultivation level that can enter the ancient order Tram. Similar scenes took place in this fog that had spread hundreds of millions of kilometers. In the western part of the fog, there was a huge beast the size of a cultivation planet. The moon-gazer serpent! On its back sat the old man with the yin and yang tattoo. He looked at the mist and his eyes lit up as he had also seen through the fog. His hand quickly formed a seal and pointed to between his eyebrows. 3 portions of his origin soul flew out. They respectfully charged into Wudong Chan, Ji Shantian, and the moongazer serpent. After doing this, the old man's face turned pale and he quickly retreated. He roared, Wudong Chan, Ji Shantian, and moongazer serpent. The 3 of you will enter the ancient order tomb. The fog suddenly arrived and number marks appeared between the eyebrows of the moongazer serpent and the other 2. Then they were sucked into the fog. The old man quickly retreated out of the range of the fog. He appeared on a cultivation planet far away and began to cultivate. There was also the old man who the old vermilion bird called the esteemed great desolation that wore beast skin clothes. He looked at the fog with shining eyes. He didn't have any avatars, so he didn't dare to enter with weakened cultivation and risk death. While he retreated, his hand kept reaching out at the void. No matter how far they were, he would always grab a cultivator and throw them into the fog. Those cultivators all died miserably and turned into skeletons. However, the 8th person trembled but didn't die, and a number mark appeared between his eyebrows. This cultivator was an old man. His face was pale, as if he had been suffering a long illness. The moment the number mark appeared, there was a cold flash in esteemed great desolation's eyes. A portion of his origin soul chased after the old man that was being sucked in. He rushed into the old man's body and began possessing him. The old man's body trembled and then disappeared in the fog with a miserable scream. Esteemed great desolation's face turned pale and he left the fog. Third-step cultivators all used their own spells to no effect. The rumbling fog spread out further and further with no end in sight. At this moment, Wang Lin walked out of a distortion within space. He didn't hesitate to charge forward, but after moving just 1,000 feet, his pupils shrank. He saw fog moving in the distance like a monstrous wave toward him. What is this? Wang Lin was shocked. While he was escaping, he split a part of his soul to fuse with the all-seer and began to divinate. He calculated that escaping in that direction would benefit him greatly. Just at this moment, the space behind him distorted and collapsed, and a giant black hole appeared. The burly man walked out, but the girl that hadn't died strangely wasn't present. However, there was a gray mark hidden on the shoulder of the burly man. Unless one checked carefully, it would be difficult to detect it. After the burly man appeared, he immediately saw the storm before him, and his expression changed. He seemed to hesitate for Abbott, but soon he charged at Wang Lin. His right hand formed a seal, and wolf howls appeared around him. 8-direction extreme wolf Dao. The burly man roared. Then the space rumbled and 8 10,000-foot large wolves appeared. They all charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he charged forward like a meteor. He was very fast, but the fog was even faster. It arrived in a flash, rushing over like an angry wave, and immediately devoured Wang Lin before it collided with the 8 wolves. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sounds of collapse were suppressed by rumbles of the fog, and the 8 wolves disintegrated. The storm rumbled and devoured the burly man, causing his expression to change. This burly man didn't know what this strange fog was, but he was aware of the powerful force inside it. He quickly retreated, but he was still too slow compared to the fog, even though he was at the early stage of nirvana void and wasn't weak. At this moment, a number mark appeared between his eyebrows. However, a mournful scream came from his right shoulder. Tears streaming long. wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1437. Terrifying Clue. The miserable scream was hidden by the rumbles. The girl that had been hiding on the burly man's right shoulder and was preparing to sneak attack Wang Lin was forced out. No matter what cultivation level one was at, everyone had to suffer the test of the fog from the ancient order trauma. Even third-step cultivators had to face it, not to mention this little girl from the ceiling extermination clan. The moment she appeared, her body trembled violently. Her body withered rapidly and was instantly corroded by the fog until she was only a skeleton. The woman died again inside this fog. However, just as she died, the skeleton didn't dissipate, but gray light came out from within. Flesh began to grow out from the bones once more, and in just a few breaths, the girl that had died was reborn. There was fear in her eyes. In a short period of time, she had been killed by Wang Lin's scheme. She was still feeling thankful when she was hit by this fog and died without being able to resist at all. Out of her 3 lives, she had already used 2. However, this was not the source of her fear. What she feared was that even if she revived, she was still inside the fog, and it was her last life. This fog killed without leaving a trace. If she were to be reborn inside the fog, the result would be her real death. The girl's face immediately turned pale, and she rapidly retreated as she resurrected, wanting to leave the fog. However, how could she compare to the speed of the fog? Just as her body reformed, the fog rushed into her body before she could retreat far. Despair filled her eyes. Her ceiling extermination clan had almost immortal bodies, but right now the fear of death washed over her. All of this happened in a flash. The girl was surrounded by the fog once more. She felt desperate as the fog cycled through her body once. However, not only did she not die, but endless vitality rushed into her body and formed a number beside her clan mark. In this short instant, the girl had experienced life and death, and cold sweat soaked her clothes. Before she regained her senses, the suction force shrouded her. She struggled in terror as she was pulled deep into the fog. There was also the burly man from the esteemed Heavenly Wolf clan. He had been pulled into the fog one step before this girl. Wang Lin clearly saw all of this. His eyes lit up, and the scene of the girl dying and resurrecting shook his mind. I already killed her once before, and this strange fog killed her again, but she still isn't dead. The ceiling extermination clan is a bit too strong. However, her expression just now was not fake. That look of desperation revealed what she was thinking. If that woman dies again, she won't be able to come back. Wang Lin was observant and intelligent, so it wasn't difficult for him to figure out something like this. What really puzzled him was his current state. When the fog rushed at him, it didn't form a number mark once it entered his body. Instead, it turned into ancient god power and was absorbed by the stars between his eyebrows. However, this ancient god power was filled with death energy and resentment. After Wang Lin absorbed it, many violent thoughts raged in his mind. If it wasn't for him suppressing them quickly and stopping the absorption, his mind would have been taken over. However, after dispelling the rage from the ancient god power, his mind was unprecedentedly clear. This feeling was very obvious, like the difference between summer and winter. No number had appeared between his eyebrows, so he wasn't pulled by the suction force. Inside the fog, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he began to analyze. His eyes grew brighter and brighter. Recalling the number marks and the location of his place, his pupils shrank. That number mark, outsiders can understand it, but it is clearly the language of the ancient gods. Could this place be the place where greed came out of the ancient order tomb? Wang Lin's heart pounded and his eyes lit up. He suddenly looked toward where the girl and the burly man were pulled toward. No wonder no ancient god language didn't appear between my eyebrows. No wonder the mist entered my body and turned into ancient god power. The number on the burly man was 14. The number on the girl was 29. Wang Lin licked his lips and pondered. This place is perilous, and the ancient order tomb is even more dangerous should I go or not. After 3 breaths, Wang Lin's eyes became determined. His personality had always been like this, to find benefit in danger. If he gave up going in this time, who knows when it will open again. He might never have another chance. His eyes lit up, revealing an indifferent gaze as he carefully moved toward the depths of the fog. The more dangerous it was, the more opportunity and good fortune were present. The ancient order tomb, let me experience what kind of terrifying dangers and fortunates lie here. As an ancient god, This place will benefit me much more than others. Wang Lin moved like a fish and charged forward. He decisively gave up absorbing this fog filled with death and resentment. Although it could strengthen him, he knew that if he absorbed it, his mind would no longer belong to him. He would be controlled by the death and resentment aura like a living puppet. Wang Lin moved faster and faster, but his expression became even more cautious. Although he wasn't taking every step slowly, it was close. He had lived through many life and death situations due to his caution. The only thing that could be considered reckless was his plan to scheme against the sovereign. There was no reason for this idea to appear. It had just suddenly appeared after talking with the first vermilion bird. In his heart, he had come up with a lot of reasons and excuses to do this. He had also entered the Alzir's soul to divinate the chance. He had also made up his mind that if the sovereign was really there and had recovered, he would use the jade to retreat back into the inner realm. All of these seemed to be his own ideas that had appeared on their own. However, after escaping from the Fire Sparrow clan, when Wang Lin began to doubt if the middle-aged man was really the sovereign, he had a terrifying doubt. This doubt caused his body to turn cold. Why would I do such a crazy thing and come up with such a crazy idea just as he began to doubt it? The thought immediately dissipated and other things just naturally disrupted him. This had caused him to almost forget this doubt that had appeared in his mind when he was doubting the identity of the sovereign. However, after entering the fog, his mind suddenly became clear. It was as if the fog was a different world from the outside. It was as if some unknown power had descended upon Wang Lin and was being blocked by the fog. The disappearance of this power caused the doubt that appeared in Wang Lin's mind to appear once more. This doubt became stronger and stronger. In just a moment, he was covered in cold sweat. He suddenly looked back and stared at the churning fog behind him. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the endless fog and see the calm ancient star system. After a long time, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze, and there was a hint of fear in his eyes. Thinking about what had happened after arriving in the ancient star system, Wang Lin clearly felt a power controlling him. After pondering for a bit, the fear in Wang Lin's eyes was replaced by coldness. He pondered for a long time, and then determined that entering the ancient order tomb was something he had decided after carefully analyzing. The idea hadn't appeared for no reason. He then turned and went into the depths of the fog. He moved faster and faster, turning into a ray of light. As he got close, he saw struggling cultivators being pulled in beside him. These people all had number marks between their eyebrows. 37, 45, 71. Wang Lin gradually closed in on the center and saw the terrifying rift in the center. The world inside the rift had no fog, but was filled with distortion. Although it was distorted, Wang Lin still clearly saw the fierce heads on those floating platforms. Ancient Order Tomb. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he was about to step into the rift. Just at this moment, the surrounding fog rumbled. Wang Lin turned around and his pupils shrank. As the fog behind him churned, a person slowly appeared. This person was a middle-aged scribe who looked very handsome, as if he were a female. However, this person's face was pale, making it obvious that it was difficult for him to reach here. There were 9 strange statues surrounding his body. Each statue revealed a different expression. They surrounded the woman-like scholar and gave off a yellow glow that had allowed the scholar to reach here. There was also no number mark between the eyebrows of the scholar. When he saw Wang Lin, his tired face revealed a look of shock. Although Wang Lin looked normal, a shockwave was set off in his heart. He knew how powerful the fog was, but this person had unexpectedly arrived here. Wang Lin didn't speak before he turned around and was about to walk into the ancient order tomb. Fellow cultivator, can you help me? A very pleasant female voice came from the scholar. In the ancient star system, in a boundless star domain, there was a giant palace floating across the stars. This star domain seemed to be hidden, and no one could find it. The palace was dim as only a few candlesticks were burning, giving off soft, crackling sounds. Borrowing the light of the fire, one could faintly see a well with water inside. The water was like a mirror, reflecting 3 groups of candlesticks, and it was impossible to separate the real from the fake. A figure surrounded by a black robe hiding their appearance was silently standing next to the well. Inside the well there was the reflection of 3 groups of candlesticks and a white-haired figure. This figure was Wang Lin. Wang Lin's figure was surrounded by the 3 candlesticks as if he was being sealed. However, just as Wang Lin entered the fog, ripples appeared inside the well. This force seemed to not come from this world, and as the ripples echoed, Wang Lin's figure gradually dissipated. The ancient order tomb suddenly opened and disrupted this old man's plan. A pity, fishing the moon in the well. Just a bit more. The person hidden inside the black robe murmured in a hoarse voice. He raised his right hand, exposing dried, slender fingers. ND pointed at the surface of the water. The like button for the VIDEO is in danger. Urgently wishing for the like button for the VIDEO's aid. Chapter 1438. Third older sister, fourth younger sister. Just as the finger of the old man in black robe was about to touch the surface of the water, a dazzling blue light came from the water. In the blink of an eye, the blue light filled the water and collided with the finger. There was no sound, but a ripple spread out from where the finger and the blue light made contact. The shockwave collided with the old man's black robe and caused it to flutter. I can ignore the fishing the moon in the well mark you left on him, but if you kill him, I think a calm voice came out from the blue light, and after it paused, it continued. I'll act. The old man in the black robe pondered for a bit, and then slowly said with a hoarse voice, "You are not this old man's match. I can make your injuries worse." The voice inside the blue light was still calm. The old man in the black robe didn't speak. After a long time he let out a sigh and he said in a hoarse voice, "We have an agreement. Back then you asked me to act, and I've already acted. Don't he? You want to take back your wife's body, don't he forget that you are one of the ancient star system S5 masters." The voice inside the blue light silently pondered for a while. After a moment, the tired voice echoed inside the palace. "I am also a father." The palace was silent, with only the sound of the candles burning. There seemed to be the sound of pondering inside the palace. Only this once the old man in the black robe turned around and walked into the depths of the palace. The blue light inside the well gradually dissipated. "Fellow cultivator, can you help me?" Outside the rift to the ancient order tomb, deep within the fog, Wang Lin's step didn't pause for a moment due to this sentence or this beautiful voice. He seemed to turn deaf and didn't hear this sentence at all. His body turned into a ray of light and entered the rift. The world around him distorted when Wang Lin stepped into the rift. He seemed to have disappeared without a trace before the middle-aged scholar. He disappeared into the rift into the ancient order tomb. Wang Lin wasn't a child, and he wasn't that curious. He wasn't going to help someone without knowing anything. The woman that looked like a middle-aged scholar could reach here by force, which meant that her cultivation was terrifying. Wang Lin didn't want to interact with such a person for no reason. Even if she had promised many benefits in exchange for his help, Wang Lin would be still left without hesitation. Right now his mind was extremely clear. There was a slight difference between the him now and the him before he entered the fog. However, that difference made him feel a sense of danger. The more he thought about all his actions in the ancient star system, the more he felt like he wasn't himself, but a powerful force had entered his body, silently controlling his thoughts as a result. He was shocked and became even more cautious. He completely ignored the middle-aged scholar. Seeing the strange youth leave after he spoke, the middle-aged scholar frowned. Although the ancient order tomb was less than 1,000 feet away, even with his powerful cultivation and treasure, he could only get this far. He wasn't able to move any further. Seeing the fog become even more violent, the middle-aged scholar let out a sigh. "It looks like I can enter the ancient order tomb by force with my original body. That little fellow didn't have a mark between his eyebrows. This person's identity is outside my expectations. Aside from that rascal, Tuo-sen, he must be the other ancient god that killed seventh younger sister's avatar." The eyes of the middle-aged scholar lit up and his hand formed a seal. Light came from the 9 statues around him. As he waved his hand, the light from the statues became even brighter and shrouded his body. A moment later, the figure of a woman walked out from the light. Her appearance was extremely beautiful, with long hair extending to below her waist. She was wearing white and was slightly transparent. One could clearly see 9 rays of light rotating inside her body. The moment the woman appeared, the fog rushed into her body, and a faint mark appeared between her eyebrows in an instant. With a sigh, the woman took a step and entered the rift leading to the ancient order tomb that was 1,000 feet away. The moment she entered, the light inside the fog dissipated. The middle-aged scholar's face turned pale and he quickly retreated. As he retreated, he muttered, "I can only send my avatar in." There was signs of fishing the moon in the well in that little ancient god's body. Aside from him, No one else in the ancient star system can use that spell. Elder sister and 8th younger sister have been gone for many years. 2nd elder sister has already found someone to work with. Even that fox, 4th younger sister, has gone all out to steal that rascal. Tuosen 5th younger sister took that body and is on the same path as Tao Master Blue Dream. If I don't find someone to cooperate with, then I am afraid I'll be left out. The middle-aged scholar's figure moved further and further away. Just when he was about to leave the fog, the middle-aged scholar suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. The fog churned in the distance and a roar came toward him. An oppressive aura spread with it, and that roar contained a hint of madness. Even if you hadn't asked, I would have come here myself. Damn woman, shut up for this god. Shut up! Shut up! A laughter that could affect one's heart echoed inside the roar. This laughter was filled with temptation as if it was magic. I won't talk about it anymore, but the more crazy you are, the more I like you. Being with you is much more fun than that useless celestial sovereign. An instant later, one could see a huge figure walk out from the fog. This figure was too big, as if it was a cultivation planet. However, its body was rapidly shrinking as it moved forward. It was Tuosen. At this moment, Tuosen's eyes were bloodshot, making it seem like he was crazy, and his expression was ferocious. He moved with tyrannical momentum and was about to pass in front of the middle-aged scholar. Is that the always cold 3rd elder sister? Could it be that even with 3rd elder sister's cultivation, you can enter the ancient order tomb? A seductive voice slowly came from Tuosen's eyebrows. The middle-aged scholar sneered and retreated far away to the side. A voice gently drifted over. Umezi, it's hard to change your personality. I could smell your disgusting aura from far away. I can compare to the heavenly Tao sect's holy maiden's virtue. I believe you still a virgin to this day. You were captured by the celestial sovereign and were raised to be a prefect furnace. However, that old thing was not blessed to enjoy it, and it benefited someone else. I wonder who will take it away. The seductive voice didn't seem to care, then it disappeared with Tuosen's figure. There was a flash of coldness in the eyes of the white-robed scholar. Then he walked far away with a cold snort. The moment Wang Lin entered the ancient order tomb rift, he felt a teleporting force. Before he could even see clearly around him, he retreated dozens of feet and light began to shine. A light silhouette surrounded his body. This was his caution. This was, after all, the ancient order tomb. Also, a lot of people had entered before him, so he had to be cautious. Just as Wang Lin appeared, he heard a thunderous bang and a powerful force landed on his body. It landed on the light silhouette around Wang Lin. Fortunately, Wang Lin's personality had made him use the light shadow shield before the sneak attack. The attack was reflected back by the light shadow shield. A muffled groan echoed and someone quickly retreated. All of this happened in a flash. The moment Wang Lin entered the rift, someone had sneak attacked him, but they retreated in a flash. At this moment, Wang Lin clearly saw his surroundings. This place was different from what he saw outside. It was roughly the same but not the same place. It was obvious that the moment they entered the rift, everyone was teleported to different areas. The sky was dim and the earth was a dense fog. The fog was like a sea, unfathomable. Sometimes a giant black hole would appear as if it was waiting to devour something. There were countless platforms floating in the air, with a head on each of them. There were many platforms, with no end in sight. There was a middle-aged man wearing a Taoist robe rapidly retreating. His face was pale and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Wang Lin with terror in his eyes. He was the person who had attacked. There were dozens of cultivators in the sky, and they were all shocked. When Wang Lin's gaze swept by, they all subconsciously retreated. The smell of blood was surrounding the area. Wang Lin's eyes immediately judged that these people had joined forces. They were attacking cultivators that had just arrived and were still dazed and in fear. Kill others to steal treasures. Even further away, there were scattered cultivators that were trying to get on the platforms. However, there was a strange power around the platforms, and no matter what spells they used, they couldn't enter. At a glance, it was obvious that there were hundreds of cultivators here. However, this place was too large, so it didn't feel crowded. The like button for the VIDEO has dropped to 5th place. Tears brimming and wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. Chapter 1439. Emotional language slaughter calamity. Wang Lin was always decisive. How could he let it go when someone had attacked him the moment he entered? The ancient order tomb was already dangerous, and he could only rely on strength. If he showed weakness, he would be besieged by others. Therefore, he had to be vicious to display his might. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes as he looked at the retreating middle-aged man. His right foot stepped forward and he moved like a meteor. The middle-aged man's cultivation level wasn't very high, only 3rd heaven blight. When he sneak attacked Wang Lin, he was confident in succeeding. Even if someone was of a higher cultivation level than him, they would have been injured by such a sneak attack. After all, anyone who was sucked in here would be dazed and panic for a brief moment. This moment was more than enough to kill or seriously injure someone. Once injured, the surrounding cultivators would all attack. They all had an agreement to help each other, and this agreement would be in effect until they met a powerful enemy. Of course, it was possible that it would be a 3rd step cultivator that was pulled in, but 3rd step cultivators were rare. They were unwilling to give up this chance to steal treasures just due to the fear of a 3rd step cultivator being dragged in. Also, the pressure of 3rd step cultivators was extremely powerful and would spread out the moment they entered the rift. With that in mind, they weren't afraid of attacking one by accident. However, the middle-aged man didn't think that although Wang Lin was not a 3rd step cultivator, he hadn't been sucked in here. He had entered by choice and wasn't panicked or in a daze. The moment the middle-aged man's spell fell on Wang Lin, it was reflected back on him. He immediately coughed out blood and was knocked back. Then his scalp went numb and he lost his wits. He cried that something was wrong in his heart and quickly rushed away. Seeing the killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes, the middle-aged man's face turned pale. He clenched his teeth and charged toward the fog below. The middle-aged man's reaction was very fast. He was also someone who had been through many battles. He had faintly seen Wang Lin's strength and knew that no matter how fast he was, he couldn't escape. Thus, he had decided to risk it by rushing into the mysterious fog. He might die if he entered the fog, but if he didn't he would die for sure. This was a very easy but at the same time, difficult decision. Wang Lin moved like a ray of light toward the middle-aged man. Seeing Wang Lin closing in quickly, a hint of madness appeared in his eyes. He hit his chest and coughed out a mouthful of blood. He used the blood escape, which injured himself greatly, and rushed down at the fog. He was about to enter the fog. He is indeed a character. The other person's rapid analysis and decisive behavior revealed him worthy of his 3rd heaven's blight cultivation. However, he had attacked someone he shouldn't have, and now he had to face Wang Lin. He didn't expose his stop spell or the blood sword to kill the middle-aged man before he entered the fog. These were things Wang Lin wouldn't carelessly reveal. Wang Lin raised his right hand as he moved forward and slammed down on the middle-aged man that was about to fall into the fog. The world rumbled, and the war spirit print appeared. The thunderous rumbles caught the attention of most of the surrounding cultivators. An illusory palm print suddenly appeared and charged at the middle-aged man at an unimaginable speed. The middle-aged man rushed into the fog using blood escape. Just as he was about to go down more, he felt the fog around him churn. A force comparable to heaven's might suddenly descended. That huge palm print seemed to break open the heavens and earth when it landed on the fog. The fog quickly surged and sunk down, then a giant palm print appeared in the fog. A miserable scream was overshadowed by the rumble of the palm print. The palm print penetrated into the depths of the fog, leaving behind a shocking palm-shaped hole in the fog. There was a small blood mist and origin soul dissipating in the fog. The middle-aged man had been pierced by the palm print and died. With a simple raise of his hand, he had killed someone, leaving only a hole in the fog. Although the hole was already recovering, it was still clearly visible to the surrounding cultivators. There wasn't fear in the eyes of many of the surrounding cultivators, but they became cautious. There were even some that began to ponder while looking at Wang Lin. They felt like Wang Lin's face was somewhat familiar, as if they had seen him before. Behind one of the floating platforms in the distance, there was a girl in red with a timid gaze. It was the Sealing Extermination Clan woman with only one life left. She had been separated from the burly man from the esteemed Heavenly Wolf Clan. He had been sent to an unknown area, but the girl had been sent to the same place as Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm, and he took a step forward. He soon arrived before a floating platform that was 10,000 feet tall. There was a huge head on the platform, and its eyes were open, filled with anger and reluctance. There was a huge blood hole between its eyebrows. Its mark had been dug away by someone. However, without a need to look at the mark, Wang Lin could feel that this head belonged to an ancient god. There was a 30-foot flag stabbed into the ground before the head. The flag wasn't moving, as if there was no life left within it. After closing in, Wang Lin felt the rejection force here. There was a protective force here that prevented anyone from entering. While he was observing, his expression changed, and he looked up at the sky. There was a flash of light, and another person was teleported in. After seeing the sneak attack on Wang Lin fail and the attacker killed, the dozens of cultivators in the sky grew timid. They no longer dared to sneak attack anymore. A woman in white appeared. Her black hair was draped over her shoulder and reached below her waist. Her face was beautiful but extremely cold. Her appearance caused Wang Lin's pupils to shrink. Her appearance was extremely similar to the middle-aged scholar he had seen outside the rift. The woman in white also saw Wang Lin. The moment their gazes crossed, a shocking change occurred inside the ancient order tomb. Muffled rumbles came from the dim sky. It was as if a roar was coming from the distance. The fog that formed the earth began to rumble violently, as if countless dragons were raging down below. The entire world was like a secret room where the window was accidentally opened. Now the window was closed and the room became stuffy. Inside the ancient star system, the rift inside the fog rapidly shrank and soon disappeared without a trace. Only the fog remained, as if it would last for an eternity. Ancient Order Tomb. Closed. The moment the rift closed, inside the Ancient Order Tomb, Wang Lin suddenly felt a powerful sense of danger. A column of fog suddenly shot up from the fog below. A cultivator didn't dodge fast enough and was hit by the fog. He let out a miserable scream, and the number mark between his eyebrows flew out and drifted to the side. This sudden change caused an uproar among the hundreds of cultivators here. Some of the floating platform with the heads on them lost their protective force. There was a total of 99 platforms that had lost their protective force, and more than a dozen columns of fog shot into the air. Miserable cries echoed as the number marks from between their eyebrows flew out. A column of fog also rushed out from under Wang Lin. It was too fast and instantly closed in within 100 feet of him. Wang Lin didn't hesitate and stepped onto a platform where the protective force had disappeared. The moment he landed on the platform, the fog column charged into the sky along the edge of the platform, but it didn't cause any harm to Wang Lin. Wang Lin wasn't the only smart. When Wang Lin stepped onto the platform to dodge the column of fog, many cultivators scrambled to get on the platforms closest to them. However, there were only 99 platforms without protective force, and the rest still had a protective force on them. There were hundreds of platforms here, so it was inevitable that many platforms had multiple people arriving on them. Wang Lin clearly saw two people arrive on a platform, and just when they thought they would be safe, a column of fog more than 10,000 feet wide shot up. The fog swallowed the entire platform, the ancient devil head, and the two cultivators. They disappeared without a trace. This force would destroy all cultivators, and even third-step cultivators would die facing this force. This didn't only happen once. During the panic, more than 50 platforms had more than two people arriving on them. The world rumbled as columns of fog 10,000 feet wide shot up. This scene terrified the cultivators that saw it. Wang Lin's pupils shrank, and without hesitation his hands formed a seal. He waved his hand and an aura rushed out from his body, surrounding the 10,000-foot platform and preventing anyone from entering. However, there were almost 200 cultivators remaining, and there were only 43 platforms left. If they couldn't get a platform, they would be killed by the fog that rushed into sky. If you wanted to live, you had to steal, and you had to be fast. Otherwise, if two people arrived on the platform at once, both of them would be destroyed along with the platform. At this moment, there were more than 10 cultivators charging at Wang Lin with bloodshot eyes. Either they lived or they died with another person. Forgot to mention, at the end of the month, wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1440. 3 people, and 3 people again. The fog sea below roared and columns of fog shot into the air. Slaughter filled the sky, and there was a cultivator on each of the 43 remaining platforms. Aside from a lucky few, anyone who could occupy a platform by themselves was an extremely powerful and ruthless cultivator. There were even 5 or 6 people who were very cunning. Although they hadn't realized the truth yet, they had killed everyone around them first, and then snatched a platform. Right now, the situation was clear. Everyone knew you had to occupy a platform alone to survive. The remaining cultivators' eyes were all bloodshot. In order to live, even if they were brothers by blood, they would have to fight. In a flash, these cultivators charged at the 43 platforms like crazy. During the chaos, Wang Lin didn't have time to check what cultivators occupied the remaining 42 platforms. His hand formed a seal and he formed an air curtain to block the dozen or so people charging at him. The one with the highest cultivation level among the 10 cultivators was an old man at the 4th heaven-s blight. The rest were weaker, but even the weakest one was at the late stage of Nirvana Cleanser. Although their cultivation levels weren't the best, they erupted with their full potential at this moment of life and death. There were also a lot of them, and they were charging at Wang Lin's platform from all directions. There was a thunderous bang, and the spells of these cultivators landed on the air curtain Wang Lin had created. The air curtain began to tremble and distort. These cultivators began attacking like crazy and even took out treasures. They were fighting for every second of time. There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes. He let out a cold snort and his right hand formed a seal. He then waved his hand and a giant palm print swept by. As the palm print rotated, it formed a giant vortex. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and a majority of the dozen cultivators that wanted to rush onto the platform were knocked back, coughing out blood on the way. The fog sea roared and large amounts of fog columns rushed into the air. Dozens of people, including the cultivators outside Wang Lin's platform and the other cultivators fighting for a platform, died to the fog. The smell of blood filled the area and miserable screams echoed. This caused the cultivators not on a platform to go crazy. They all roared and charged toward the platforms like crazy. After some of the dozen-plus cultivators died, there were still 9 left. Their eyes were red as they rushed toward Wang Lin again. Different treasures and spells flashed before them as they shot toward Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and he took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, he appeared before a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man had a ferocious expression, and the moment Wang Lin appeared, he opened his mouth. A small sword flew out and shot toward Wang Lin. This middle-aged man was at the 1st heaven-s blight. The moment the small sword shot out, Wang Lin's right hand was even faster and landed between the man's eyebrows. Origin energy rushed into his body like crazy. His body collapsed, and his origin soul perished. However, he didn't dissipate, and instead turned into a blood mist that was absorbed by Wang Lin. All of this happened in a flash. After Wang Lin killed him, he took a step to the side and easily avoided the incoming flying sword. In a flash, he arrived behind a white-haired old man. Without pausing, his left hand casually waved forward, landing on the old man's back. The old man wanted to turn around, but his body trembled, and he exploded into a mist of blood that was absorbed by Wang Lin. Wang Lin licked his lips, and his body flickered. When he reappeared, he was next to a young man. The young man's face was pale, and he retreated without hesitation. Then his hands formed a seal, and he spat out blood. The blood turned into a huge, bloody skull which let out a roar as it attempted to devour Wang Lin. Not only did Wang Lin not dodge, he charged directly at the young man. Seeing the blood skull coming at him, a mysterious light arose in his eyes, and he let out a roar. Although the fog was rumbling and countless cultivators were fighting, Wang Lin's roar overwhelmed everything, replacing all other sounds. The blood skull rumbled and was hit by the powerful roar, and it dissipated. The young man couldn't even dodge and was hit by the roar. It was as if his body turned into dust and he became a mist of blood. Wang Lin had cleanly killed 3 people. However, the slaughter didn't stop. Although the remaining 6 had witnessed this, if they were to retreat, it would mean death. They had to steal the platform. They clenched their teeth and charged at the platform that Wang Lin had left. Idiots seeking death! Wang Lin's words were cold. If the 6 of them had left, he would have let them go. However, these 6 wouldn't give up. Wang Lin took a step and pointed 3 times with his right hand. In an instant, more than 10 million rays of sword energy shot out from his right hand. The rays of sword energy split into 3 portions and shot at the 3 fastest people. Among the 3 there were 2 men and 1 woman. The rays of sword energy were too fast, and in the blink of an eye they closed in. One of the middle-aged men revealed a ferocious expression and bent his body in a strange movement. Then his hand reached out at the void, and he suddenly jerked his hand upwards as the rays of sword energy closed in. A purple light screen appeared before the middle-aged man to block the incoming rays of sword energy. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the middle-aged man coughed out blood while being pushed back. The rays of sword energy quickly rushed into his body, causing his body to tremble and then collapse. There was also the middle-aged woman, who also wanted to dodge, with a pale expression. Although her cultivation level wasn't T-high, she was extremely fast, or else she wouldn't T-have arrived before the others. She quickly dodged and moved half a body to the side. There was a thunderous rumble and her right shoulder exploded, but she had avoided death. The rays of sword energy scraped by her and landed on a ferocious cultivator behind her. That cultivator immediately died. Among the three, one had died and one was injured. The last one was the fourth Heaven-S Blight old man. The old man's hand formed a seal, and 9 black dragons appeared around him. The dragons let out roars and rapidly rotated around him. The rays of sword energy bombarded the dragons and the old man was pushed back like crazy. As he was being pushed back, he grabbed a cultivator beside him and used that cultivator as a shield. The rays of sword energy all entered that cultivator's body and tore him apart. After Wang Lin killed 3 people, he then killed 3 more in the blink of an eye. At this moment, there were only 3 people remaining. Wang Lin's white clothes had red spots all over. He landed back on the platform. Then he looked at the 3 and coldly said, "Scram!" The female cultivator who had lost her right arm was deathly pale. Although death was terrible, the fear she felt right now was stronger than the fear of death. The white-haired youth in white was like an invincible mountain. She didn't want to die, so she had to retreat and go steal another platform. The old man at the 4th Heaven-S Blight was also pale and retreated without hesitation. As for the last person, he had the lowest cultivation level and was the slowest, so he avoided Wang Lin's attack. He was scared out of his wits and quickly retreated. Thunderous rumbles echoed as a column of fog shot into the air, causing the 6 cultivators that had stepped onto the platform to perish at once. This didn't end. A column of fog appeared under another platform and destroyed it. In a short period of time, only 28 of 43 platforms remained. The hundreds of cultivators without a platform had been cut down to less than 80 people. As Wang Lin stood on the platform, he coldly looked around. No cultivator dared to approach him, as his slaughter before was enough to shock them all. As Wang Lin's gaze swept by, he saw the woman from the Ceiling Extermination clan. She had occupied a platform and was sitting there with a light glowing between her eyebrows. This gentle light covered the platform, and no matter how much the cultivators attacked it, it merely twisted but didn't collapse. Aside from this young girl, there were 5 more people that caught Wang Lin's attention. The first person was the long-haired woman in white. She only silently stood there and looked into the distance. Any cultivator that got close to her platform would let out a miserable scream. Then black blood would come out of their eyes, and their bodies would give off a black gas if they were hit by a powerful poison. There was a platform being occupied by a middle-aged man. He held a pot of wine in his left hand and a 7-foot sword in his right hand. The ancient language says 3 cups for a promise. The middle-aged man drank a mouthful of wine and he casually waved his right hand. There was no other movement, and his sword penetrated the skull of a cultivator rushing toward him. Blood spewed out from the cultivator's forehead and formed the shape of a plum blossom on the platform. There were more than 10 blood plum blossoms on that platform. Another platform was being held by a man in purple. He was gloomy and gave off powerful yin energy. He waved his sleeves and a 10,000-foot fierce fish swam behind him. The fish moved like the wind and devoured the surrounding cultivators. Among the final 2, one was a thin man wearing black, with his eyes were closed. He was so fast that not even Wang Lin could see him clearly. In a flash, his shadow still remained, but the surrounding cultivators all screamed. Their origin souls were extracted and their bodies fell into the fog sea. I forgot to say, the latest 3 chapters are all 4,000-word major chapters. Is Leo that kind? So this is the moon god. Is it the like button for the VIDEO? Do you all also start the VIDEO? Chapter 1441. Rumors, rumors, and more rumors. On a platform not far from the thin cultivator was a cultivator that was the complete opposite. This cultivator's body was giant, almost like a ball. He had a kind smile and wore a robe along with a flat hat. He was holding a small abacus in his hand, With a wave, it would create crisp, popping sounds. Not worth it. Not worth it. The fat cultivator shook his head, and the fat on his face trembled as he did so. While muttering something, he waved his hand and countless restrictions appeared, landing on the cultivators rushing toward him. When the restrictions landed, the cultivators trembled, and they all fell into the fog sea below as if they were sealed. Although there were only 28 platforms left, 7 had been successfully broken into and eventually stolen after many fights. To be able to successfully steal under such circumstances meant that these people weren't ordinary. The people on those 7 platforms also caught Wang Lin's attention. What surprised him was that the 4th Heaven's blight old man was one of them. The other 5 didn't have weak cultivation, and each one was from a different clan. They were filled with killing intent and looked like slaughter gods. One of them had the easiest time stealing a platform. It was an old woman in green who had a face full of bumps. She looked terrifying, and as she walked, the cultivators around her all revealed looks of confusion. The platform she had her eye on had more than 10 cultivators fighting. However, when the old woman approached, their eyes became filled with confusion, and they unexpectedly backed off. Even the previous owner left the platform, allowing the old woman to sit there. The fog sea rumbled and more fog columns shot into the sky. All the fighting seemed to stop the moment it started. There were only 28 platforms left, and the remaining cultivators had all died. Their bodies had either collapsed into flesh and blood, or sunk into the fog sea. Although it was very short, it was an extremely cruel elimination. Among hundreds of cultivators, more than 90% had died, and only 28 people remained. Wang Lin's expression was calm, and he sat down to cultivate. He converted the flesh and blood he had absorbed to help himself recover. He hadn't exposed many of his methods, his identity as an ethereal fire cultivator, his powerful spells, and his various treasures were not exposed. This place was filled with danger and was extremely strange. Not all the danger came from the tomb itself. There were also many cultivators with hidden power around, giving off a mysterious feeling. So he had to display his might in the most effective way. The cultivators on the platforms all secretly let out breaths of relief and began to cultivate. However, an undercurrent was moving, and they all carefully observed each other. Although the battle just now was short, everyone had paid attention to each other's spells. Just like how Wang Lin had been focused on certain people, a lot of cultivators had also been focused on Wang Lin. Wang Lin had cleanly killed 6 others, which was enough to catch the attention of the surrounding people. His roar had also suppressed all other sounds in this place and caused the body of a Heaven's blight cultivator to collapse. This was enough for them to be vigilant toward Wang Lin. This person's battle didn't reveal too much. The man in purple with the 10,000-foot fish looked at Wang Lin, his face still gloomy. The power of his roar caused someone's body to collapse and dissipate. His spells should be related to sound. One of the people who had successfully stolen a platform looked at Wang Lin with killing intent and hostility. Others only noticed his ruthlessness and the power of the roar, but didn't notice him devouring the blood mist. This kind of demonic method has become more common in the ancient star system. Recently, the fat man smiled as he looked at Wang Lin and played with the abacus in his hand. He definitely wants to kill me. I need to get help. The ceiling extermination clan girl was pale, and she was biting her lip. The timid expression in her eyes became even stronger. I can provoke this person. He let me go earlier, so I owe him. The old man Wang Lin had let go lowered his head in fear. The battle just now was something he would forever remember. The long-haired woman in white slowly withdrew her gaze and then looked at Wang Lin. Her expression remained calm, and no one knew what she was thinking. Just as everyone was secretly observing each other and healing, the surroundings gradually calmed down. Even the fog sea seemed to calm down. After a brief moment of recovery, a cultivator got up and charged at the treasure before the head on their platform. Wang Lin opened his eyes and his right hand reached out. The 30-foot flag before the ancient devil's head flew into his hand. He examined it. It was an ancient devil treasure, but it wasn't great. Wang Lin quietly put it away and stood up. However, just at this moment, a huge change occurred. The 28 platforms rumbled and the dim sky roared once more. Thunder flashed across it as if it wanted to tear the sky apart. Just as the expressions of the surrounding cultivators changed, the 28 platforms trembled like crazy. As the platforms trembled, they all rapidly sank. This was too sudden, so the cultivators had no time to react. In an instant, They sank down more than 100,000 feet. The wind roared outside the platforms as they plummeted. A tearing force suddenly appeared on the cultivators' bodies. It felt like the blood in their bodies was going to be thrown out as they rapidly sank. However, the cultivators that could survive the first wave of slaughter were all powerful individuals. Despite the sudden change, none of them exclaimed. They maintained themselves on the platform as they rapidly sank. The sky got further and further away from them. The remaining platforms also gradually became black spots in their eyes. These 28 sinking platforms entered the fog in a flash. The fog rumbled and churned around the platforms before they were completely submerged in it. Wang Lin's eyes were serious as he witnessed the fog surround his platform. He felt like the platform he was on had fallen into hell, descending with no end in sight. After an unknown amount of time, there was a thunderous bang and the platform stopped descending. The surroundings were filled with fog, making it impossible to see anything. Just at this moment, a sense of danger filled Wang Lin's mind. He suddenly turned around and waved his right hand. There was a thunderous bang and the fog behind him was pushed back, revealing a hideous beast. This beast was covered in pus and was humanoid. Its hands and nails were slender and sharp. Its body had been hit by Wang Lin's slap, and it retreated back into the fog, instantly disappearing. At the same time, mournful cries were heard not far away. It was obvious that some of the sneak attacks on them had succeeded. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He recognized this beast. Although the shape of this beast was somewhat different, it gave Wang Lin the same feeling as the mysterious creature that had come out of the ancient god's head in the demon spirit land. With a cold snort, Wang Lin waved his hand and wind swept around him, pushing back the fog around him. Almost all the cultivators did the same and used spells to push the fog back. In a flash, the fog within hundreds of thousands of feet was gone, creating an opening. Among the 28 platforms, 3 were empty. A cold aura came from the cultivators and filled the area. The surrounding area was completely filled with fog, making it impossible to see outside. They were surrounded by fog. Waves of howls came from the surrounding fog. Strange figures popped out from inside the fog and revealed themselves to Wang Lin and everyone. Humanoid beasts loomed inside the fog. At a glance, it was impossible to see how many there were. The surroundings were filled with them. The old woman who had made everyone around her confused said in a hoarse voice, "Fellow cultivators, no matter what clan we are all from, being sent here together means we are fated. Right now, I hope no one holds back against these creatures. This old woman has read ancient records, so I know a bit about this ancient tomb. We are only at the outer edge and must pass the test to be qualified to enter the tomb." As her voice echoed, the humanoid beast roared like crazy and charged out of the fog toward the 25 cultivators on the 28 platforms. This scene was shocking. There were thousands of them. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He saw oppressive emotions inside these fierce beasts. He could use this to ignite the ethereal fire. Ethereal fire cultivators were extremely mysterious existences in the inner and outer realms, as very few cultivators had encountered them. However, ethereal fire cultivators had a great reputation in ancient star system. Because these cultivators were rarely seen in tens of thousands of years, rumors of ethereal fire cultivators had spread. People thought they were as powerful as third-step cultivators. The rumors of ethereal fire cultivators filled the hearts of the cultivators of the ancient star system. All the cultivators here were powerful and had heard the terrifying rumors. Rumors stating that with a wave of their hand, an ethereal fire cultivator could turn thousands into ashes. Rumors stating that an ethereal fire cultivator's gaze could ignite the 7 emotions and no one would survive. Rumors stating that ethereal fire cultivators were like a nightmare to their enemies and would ignite their enemy's emotions, burning their enemy to death. Rumors stating that the anger of an ethereal fire cultivator could ignite the anger of everyone, and they would end up being the only one standing in a mountain of corpses. More rumors aside from the girl from the ceiling extermination clan. No one here, not even the woman in white, knew that a legendary ethereal fire cultivator was hidden among them before ethereal fire was used. It was invisible. It's been a long time since wishing for likes on the VIDEO. The little pig wishing for the like button for the VIDEO support. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1442. Opportunity to heal. Thousands of humanoid beasts doesn't sound like much, but if you saw it yourself, especially with them charging out of the mist and releasing their sharp howls, it would be a shocking sight. Their ferocious expressions, fast speed, and terrifying appearances gave them a powerful momentum. Compared to the thousands of beasts, Wang Lin's group of 25 people was like a tiny boat in the ocean that could be submerged at any moment. These humanoid beasts all had varying cultivation levels. The highest ones were at the third heaven Blight, and the weakest were at the peak of Nirvana Shatterer. By themselves, they weren't much, but now there were thousands, and their bizarre speed made them difficult to deal with. Although dealing with them would be difficult, the cultivators present weren't weak. At this moment, all of them began launching spells and treasures. The battle had begun. Wang Lin's expression was calm. He raised his right hand. 10 million rays of sword energy rushed out. The rays of sword energy formed a storm and swept the area. All the fierce beasts that charged at him were caught and killed. However, just as those beasts died, there were flashes of red light. Despite being killed by the sword storm, a destructive self-destruction still occurred. The power of the self-destruction was several times stronger than their original strength. When multiple exploded at once, the resulting thunderous rumble overwhelmed all other sounds and spread far and wide. Dozens of beasts had been killed by the sword storm, and their explosion contained the power of a fifth heaven Blight cultivator's attack. As the force rushed at Wang Lin, his eyes lit up and a large light silhouette suddenly appeared behind him. This light silhouette shrouded his body and shined brightly. When the impact collided with the light silhouette, a thunderous rumble echoed. The light silhouette distorted but didn't collapse. The powerful destruction force was reflected and swept the area. The second wave of fierce beasts that were charging at Wang Lin were hit by this force, and they all screamed miserably as they collapsed. However, this set off another wave of self-destruction. Layers of explosions were set off with Wang Lin at the center. More and more intense destructive forces rolled at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained calm, and the light silhouette around him became even brighter. This light hid Wang Lin's face, so no one outside could see his expression. Wang Lin's mind trembled. Not all the fierce beasts had time to self-destruct. Some were killed by Wang Lin before they could explode. Whenever that happened, a white energy would enter Wang Lin's body. This wasn't ancient god power but life force. This life force immediately began helping heal his injuries. It was even better than the cultivators he had devoured. Wang Lin licked his lips as he stepped off his platform and charged at the fierce beasts. Not far away, the rest of the cultivators were all resisting, but a few had been caught off guard by the self-destruction of the beasts. They coughed out blood and were pushed back. Then they got surrounded. Just as they were about to resist, the surrounding beasts exploded once more, and the powerful force they released destroyed the cultivators. The woman in white was the most relaxed. Her expression remained the same, and no one could see her use any spells, but any beast that got near her would give off a black gas. The beast would then scream and retreat in fear. Wang Lin's figure moved like lightning. He was the first one among the 25 that left his platform and slaughtered his way into the herd of beasts. This caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators. Wang Lin ignored their gazes. In one step, he closed in on a group of fierce beasts. With a wave of his right hand, the 10 million rays of sword energy swept across the beasts and rushed into their bodies, ripping them apart. A portion were directly killed before they could explode, and the white energy they released entered Wang Lin's body. Their powerful life force was absorbed by his origin soul and helped his injuries recover. When Wang Lin felt the benefits, he retreated by using the impact. In a flash, he appeared outside a group of fierce beasts that had surrounded a cultivator. His finger formed a sword and landed on the body of a fierce beast. After it was destroyed, Wang Lin moved away like a fish in water. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and in a flash, dozens of fierce beasts were destroyed. The desperate cultivator that was surrounded became excited and looked at Wang Lin with gratitude in his eyes. Wang Lin ignored this person and charged off into the distance. Time quickly passed. All the cultivators had to pay attention to Wang Lin due to his actions. Wherever he appeared, the beast would be immediately killed, and then he would go somewhere else. The middle-aged man holding a wine jug in his left hand and a sword in his right hand had just pierced the head of a beast. He smiled as he faced hundreds of other beasts. He took a drink and was about to use his spells. But there was a flash of white light, and Wang Lin closed in like a bolt of thunder. In a flash, thunderous rumbles echoed, and more than half of the beasts died. After absorbing their life force, Wang Lin left. The middle-aged man frowned and muttered something. Then his eyes suddenly narrowed and he noticed something. There were quite a few people who had seen through the problem. After all the cultivators here were cunning. Wang Lin's behavior had caught their attention, and they immediately saw the reason for his actions. Every time one of these beasts is killed before being able to self-destruct, a surge of life force enters his body. Not only can it help heal injuries, but it is equal to cultivating for several months. However, when they saw the problem, more than 1,000 had died to Wang Lin and another 30% had died to self-destruction. The remaining 1,000 or so beasts formed a dense pack. Wang Lin moved like lightning and charged at this group before everyone else. Behind him, aside from the woman from the ceiling extermination clan who was too afraid, and the woman in white who didn't care, the remaining cultivators all charged forward. To them, these fierce beasts had become pills, and they were in a rush to get them before Wang Lin. Fellow white-robed cultivator, since we came as a group, we naturally can't let you face these 1,000 beasts by yourself. Let us all go together. Fellow cultivator Don T. Rush. There are nearly 1,000 fierce beasts, and if they were to self-destruct, the power would be shocking. We should be more careful. Fellow white-robed cultivator, I don't care about the rest. Just leave 300 of these fierce beasts for this lord. Roars came from these cultivators as they sped up, chasing after Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained calm and he sneered. The ancient god stars between his eyebrows faintly flickered, and a ghostly light flashed from the first star. Wang Lin's hands formed a seal, and then he waved one of them. The Emperor Furnace suddenly appeared and surrounded the almost 1,000 fierce beasts. When the giant Emperor Furnace appeared, its ancient aura formed a vortex that swept the area. The moment those cultivators closed in, Wang Lin roared. Refine. With one word, the Emperor Furnace rumbled, and the fierce beasts inside suddenly screamed. Before they could self-destruct, ancient god power rushed through the furnace. The 20-plus dumbfound cultivators stared at the Emperor Furnace that suddenly shrank and disappeared between Wang Lin's eyebrows. All of this happened in a flash. Wang Lin had instantly taken away all the remaining fierce beasts, leaving none behind. Wang Lin turned around and his gaze swept past the people that were chasing after him. He saw powerful emotions from them, and with a step, he returned to this platform. He waved his sleeve, and his powerful cultivation spread out, suppressing the area. The 20-plus cultivators all had hostile gazes, but they were all scared of Wang Lin's gaze, so none of them dared to act first. The girl from the ceiling extermination clan saw this opportunity and was about to step forward, but at this moment, Wang Lin's cold gaze landed on her. The girl's mind trembled and her face turned pale. Her footsteps stopped and she didn't dare to move at all. A moment later, the 20-plus cultivators all returned to their platforms and temporarily ignored this matter. However, their gazes toward Wang Lin were extremely hostile. Only the woman in white looked at Wang Lin with a look of admiration and nodded slightly at Wang Lin. Just at this moment, the platforms everyone were on trembled. After the brief pause, the platforms charged forward. The platforms were extremely fast and disappeared into the fog. These humanoid beasts are of great use for me to heal, so no one will steal them from me. As Wang Lin stood calmly on the platform, he revealed no emotions, but there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Powerful life force came from the Emperor Furnace and rushed into his body, helping his injuries recover. It is time to show off my might. The illusory flame in his left eye began to burn brighter and brighter. The year of the dragon is approaching. Leo's year is coming fast, fervently shouting for the like button for the VIDEO, wishing to be drowned in happiness by the likes for the VIDEO. Chapter 1443, Ethereal Fire Cultivator. There was an invisible force pulling these 25 platforms, and the platforms were moving at an incomprehensible speed. This speed was no slower than the full speed of a heaven-esque cultivator. The strange movement of the platform gave this ancient tomb a mysterious and unfathomable feeling. As Wang Lin stood on the platform, his flowed in the wind due to the speed of the platform. As the fog moved around his body, Wang Lin pondered. He had been observing his surroundings ever since he entered the ancient order tomb. Everything here was extremely strange. Before he had the situation figured out, Wang Lin didn't want to act carelessly. He wanted to see where the platform would lead him. As for the fog sea below him, it was boundless, and it was impossible to see how deep it was. However, Wang Lin had a feeling that deep within the fog sea, there was a pair of eyes staring at him and all the cultivators here. There should be a lot of cultivators that entered the ancient order tomb, but we were separated. Perhaps they are also being moved by the platforms like us. While he pondered, time slowly passed. Everything seemed to be replaced by the howl of the platform flying a few hours later. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. There was still fog before him, but it was distorted. Before he could get a closer look, the platform charged into the distorted fog. The world before him changed, and exclamations came from some of the shocked cultivators. What appeared before Wang Lin's group of 25 people was a tomb that had been sealed for tens of thousands of years that no one had entered before. This area was hundreds of feet large and was filled with spatial rifts. They formed a cage that sealed the area. Wang Lin's group's platforms came out of one of the spatial rifts. The world before them was shrouded in a red light. The sealed sky was red and the ground wasn't fog but real earth. There were rivers flowing on the earth, but the rivers were all blood red. The smell of blood rushed at them. At the center of this world there was a huge figure. It was an ancient god that was tens of thousands of feet tall. He was down on one knee, with a ferocious expression on his face and a big hole between his eyebrows. Blood seemed to continuously flow out from that hole forever. The blood flowed down his face and dropped to the ground. His knee had collapsed, and one could see the already dark bones. It was obvious that he didn't want to kneel countless years ago, but had his knee broken so he had to kneel. He was down on one knee and his back was bent as he carried on it a 10,000-foot platform. The platform was blood red and was surrounded by blood mist, making it impossible to see inside. However, an oppressive restriction flashed from the mist as if it was sealing something. On the right side of the ancient god there was a figure about 4,000 feet tall, kneeling there. This figure had one horn on its head and a ferocious expression. Its left eye was filled with madness and reluctance. The right eye was empty, as if someone had dug it out. Blood was flowing out of the right eye socket. On the left side of the ancient god was a 3,000-foot ancient demon. It was also kneeling, and its left eye was hollow. The right eye was filled with fear. The ancient god was holding the platform, while the ancient demon and ancient devil knelt there as if they were worshipping the platform. This bizarre scene was really shocking. However, what caused the cultivators to exclaim were the dense figures on the earth beside the blood-like rivers. Their red eyes were all fixated on the uninvited guests that had suddenly appeared. Humanoid beasts, no less than tens of thousands of humanoid beasts filled the ground. Many were devouring the blood-like river and some were fighting. However, when Wang Lin's group entered, they all raised their heads. After a brief moment of silence, the beasts on the ground let out shocking roars. The roars of tens of thousands beasts formed a sound wave that swept the people above. The cultivators that didn't have high cultivation levels and were injured coughed out blood due to this sound blast. 2 people were directly thrown off their platforms and fell down. Before they could struggle, they were swarmed by hundreds of beasts. When the beasts dispersed, they were already torn apart. The fierce beasts on the ground jumped like crazy toward them. However, after experiencing the battle before, they were all aware of the benefits. Although shaken by the number, they weren't afraid to charge at the incoming fierce beasts. Devouring all these beasts should allow my injuries to recover completely. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he licked his lips. He had started late, so there was more than a dozen cultivators ahead of him. These cultivators' eyes all shined. They had made up their minds to not let Wang Lin monopolize all the beasts. Although there was a lot of them, the life force one could gain was very tempting. If that white-robed cultivator steals again, we should join forces to kill him. We have to let him know the consequences. The cultivators that had stolen a platform were all ruthless. They looked at each other and came to a tacit understanding. The extremely fat cultivator waved the abacus in his hand and said with a smile, "White-haired cultivator, you can kill more than 10 beasts, or else don't blame this lord for being ruthless."
I'll kill you and refine your soul.
Kill one extra and you will die here. No one can save you, the thin cultivator in black said coldly as he moved forward. The man in purple with the fierce fish behind him roared. Although fellow cultivator is powerful, If you anger us, you can just scram out of our group and face your death. If you done scram, this lord will make your corpse scream. The grim voice of the old woman in green and covered in pus echoed. Fellow cultivator was far too reckless. The fortune here is for everyone to obtain. If you become too greedy, even this old body won't let it go. If you become too greedy, this old body will kill you. Even though you are powerful, you will still die if you don't become obedient. Although you are powerful, you really don't know how to act. To waste your cultivation like this is extremely stupid, alas, a pity. There is such a greedy person in this world. Do you think you a third-step cultivator? The middle-aged man with the white jug in his left hand shook his head. He took a drink and then charged at the fierce beasts. These words revealed killing intent. It was obvious that a majority of the cultivators were dissatisfied. In addition to those that spoke, the rest all revealed killing intent. They were ready to kill. When the girl from the ceiling extermination clan saw all of this, there was a flash of joy in her eyes. However, when she thought about how terrifying Wang Lin was, the joy disappeared. Wang Lin remained calm after hearing everyone's words, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. There was a faint ethereal fire in his eyes. He let out a cold snort, and not only did he not back down, he moved even faster. Using his powerful cultivation, he moved like a meteor and passed all the cultivators before him as he charged at the murderous beasts charging at them. What guts? You dare? Arrogant! You seeking death! Wang Lin's behavior infuriated the crowd. Killing intent surged from everyone, and some were already forming seals to launch spells. Wang Lin closed in on the tens of thousands beasts, but he didn't seem to use any spells. He waved his right hand, and the world rumbled. The fierce beasts that had jumped into the air all let out miserable screams, and fear filled their eyes. As their expressions distorted, their miserable screams became even more intense. In a flash, nearly 1,000 fierce beasts were surrounded by ethereal fire and were burned to death. Strands of white life force flew out of them and entered Wang Lin's body. The ethereal fire inside the dead beasts' bodies rushed out and spread like crazy. More beasts were burned.